Imagine getting reincarnated as a dragon, only to be immediately betrayed by your beautiful summoner. She literally rips the dragon heart right out of your chest and kicks you into a trash dump to die. But this arrogant, selfish girl has no idea what a massive mistake she just made. Left for dead, our tiny hero is saved by the world's most beautiful outcast. And little by little, he's going to evolve into the ultimate dragon god by devouring the very spirit beasts his former summoner cherishes. Let's get started with this thrilling story. A concentrated beam of golden energy pierces the sky, striking the center of a cracked stone platform and activating an intricate magic circle, resting quietly. At the center of this glowing gold light is Leo, a small, cute orange lizard with a flickering flame on his tail, wearing a colorful rope collar with a small golden bell. Leo slowly opens his large, curious brown eyes, which reflect the brilliant summoning light. Confused, he pushes himself up onto his hind legs under a vast, starry night sky framed by snowy mountains, looking around frantically to understand what has just happened. Realizing his bizarre situation as glowing white characters appear beside him, Leo holds his head in complete panic. He stares down at his tiny, sweat-slicked orange claws with horror, realizing he has been reincarnated into the body of an incredibly weak and fragile lizard. Before he can fully process his new form, a blinding flash of blue-white energy erupts nearby. A massive, glowing blue magic circle manifests, crackling with violent electrical energy and intricate geometric runes. Standing at the center of his own golden magic circle, Leo watches as miniature glowing structures project into the night sky around him. Suddenly, a massive burst of blue lightning radiates outward from the neighboring circle, lighting up the entire area. Enveloped in the crackling blue lightning, a young woman with long, silver-white hair named Bianca begins to float gracefully down from the sky. Her eyes remain peacefully closed as she descends effortlessly through the violent electrical storm. As Bianca's beautiful silver hair flows around her during her descent, Leo's mind wanders to his own expectations of what a summoning should be. He imagines posing heroically back-to-back with a beautiful spellcaster, ready to conquer this new fantasy world together. Filled with hope, Leo's eyes turn into giant pink hearts as he drools with infatuation. He stands inside his circle, watching eagerly as the beautiful silver-haired girl's legs gently float down toward the Bianca continues her elegant descent through the starry night, protected by massive, swirling arcs of blue lightning that form a protective barrier around her. The scene shifts to daytime, revealing a grand outdoor courtyard under a clear blue sky. A young woman named Vanessa, sporting long brown hair and a red and white academy uniform, steps confidently onto the ornate stone floor. Rising gusts of blue wind begin to swirl violently around Vanessa's legs as gathered students watch in awe from a distance. She stands confidently at the center of the courtyard, letting the magical gales wrap around her. A massive, towering vortex of blue magical energy shoots straight up into the sky behind her. The spectating students watch the overwhelming display of power, with wide eyes and open mouths, completely. The camera zooms in rapidly on Vanessa as the dust settles. To her utter confusion, she finds herself holding the tiny, cute orange lizard Leo in her hands, staring down at her newly summoned contract beast. Vanessa stands frozen in the courtyard while other elite students show off. Magnificent beasts like a winged griffin, a glowing blue stag, and a dark shadow monster. Meanwhile, a completely clueless Leo looks up at her, smiling warmly and happily with his mouth wide open. In the crowd, a boy with messy red hair narrows his eyes in judgment. He turns to a smug blonde classmate, mockingly pointing out that Vanessa has summoned an F-rank dragon-type beast, calling it an absolute joke. The smug blonde boy chuckles condescendingly, waving his hand dismissively. He remarks loudly that such a pathetic creature is a disgrace to the entire dragon race, leaving Vanessa's reputation in tatters. Hearing their mocking laughter, Vanessa's red eyes narrow in sudden, cruel anger. Frustrated by the humiliation, she grips Leo roughly, preparing to discard the useless creature once and for all. Vanessa squeezes Leo's small body tightly, causing him to wave his claws in sheer panic. She stands at the center of the massive platform, her embarrassment turning into cold malice before the entire student body. Before Vanessa can throw him, she pauses, looking down at Leo with deep disappointment. Just then, her older brother Vincent, a stern young man in a dark gray and red coat, steps forward through the quieted crowd. Vincent walks calmly toward his sister, as the crowd watches in silent anticipation. Flanked by massive stone lion statues, the two siblings face one another in the grand court. Vanessa yells defensively at her brother, hoisting Leo up and complaining that keeping such an F-rank piece of garbage will make her a laughingstock. Vincent merely watches her emotional outburst with cold, calculating eyes. Vincent lets out a smug, condescending smile. His sharp red eyes narrow, maliciously as he explains that even the weakest dragon-type beast holds a highly valuable prize within its chest. With a sinister glint in his red eyes, Vincent speaks of the legendary Draconic Core that resides within all dragons. He envisions a massive dark purple bipedal dragon harboring a glowing red core of pure dragon energy. As the dark purple dragon roars fiercely, the vision shows its extracted core floating above a white bear beast, ready to bestow the pure dragon lineage to another contract beast. The white bear roars as golden flames and lightning erupt during its enhancement. Back in reality, Leo grits his teeth in fear and pain, realizing the terrifying fate these siblings are planning. Vanessa looks shocked and begins to sweat as she clutches the struggling Leo, amazed by this secret. Vincent smiles arrogantly, knowing he has the perfect solution to her problem. Vanessa looks at Vincent with sudden anticipation as he commands the summoning area. Behind them, a massive, muscular black bear with glowing blue eyes and crackling purple electricity, known as the Thunder Bear, emerges. Vanessa smiles gleefully at her formidable new contract beast, while a terrified Leo looks up at the towering predator. Nearby, two male students sweat profusely, completely overwhelmed by the Thunder Bear's immense pressure. The blonde student smirks in admiration of the family's immense wealth and power. Vincent stands beside the massive beast, looking down at his sister with a superior expression, urging her to extract the core. Leo is squeezed mercilessly in Vanessa's hand, gritting his teeth in excruciating pain. Despite his fragile body, his eyes burn with fierce anger as he tries to endure the agony. Vincent watches the helpless lizard with cold, merciless red eyes. Even though he is captured and weak, Leo continues to glare back, refusing to submit to their cruelty. A sinister dark purple clawed shadow hand materializes in the air. Without hesitation, the shadow hand plunges directly into Leo's chest, ripping out his glowing core as he shrieks in agony before the horrified onlookers. Tears well in Leo's eyes as he gasps in near-fatal pain. Meanwhile, Vincent holds up the stolen Draconic Core, a brilliant, multi-layered golden crystal, radiating immense magical energy. Vanessa looks down coldly at the limp, severely injured Leo in her hand. Disgusted by the now useless lizard, she tosses him aside, leaving him bruised, dirty, and shivering on the hard stone ground as his tail flame flickers weakly. As the stolen golden crystal glows brightly in Vanessa's possession, Bianca steps forward. Her red eyes burn with absolute outrage as she screams at Vanessa for her sheer cruelty. Vanessa merely smiles dismissively at Bianca's outburst, while Vincent watches, with cold indifference. Shrugging off the confrontation, Vanessa turns her back on the school idol and begins to walk away. Vanessa casts a cruel smirk over her shoulder, completely unbothered. An extreme close-up of Bianca's tear-filled red eyes highlights her deep sorrow and burning fury at her own helplessness to stop. Bianca stands alone in the courtyard, shouting in defiance at the departing siblings. Vanessa and Vincent completely ignore her, walking away as their massive Thunder Bear follows close behind them. Vincent looks back coldly as Vanessa triumphantly holds up the stolen core. On command, the giant Thunder Bear opens its massive jaws and swallows the golden crystal whole. The Thunder Bear is instantly engulfed in a brilliant golden yellow aura as violet lightning crackles wildly around its body. Within moments, the beast undergoes a massive evolution, transforming into a towering white bear clad in silver armor plates and a gem-studded collar. The blonde student watches the spectacle in utter shock. The newly evolved Thunder Bear King lets out a deafening roar, unleashing violent waves of purple, lightning that shake the area. Meanwhile, in a dirty, desolate scrapyard, Leo crawls weakly along the ground, gritting his teeth as severe burns ravage his tiny body. Back at the courtyard, Vanessa looks momentarily annoyed as lightning crackles in the distance. Recalling how Vanessa brutally kicked him away with her heavy boot, Leo remembers soaring through the air before crashing heavily inside a rusted metal pipe. He lies there in the garbage dump, bloodied and completely unconscious. As Leo lies near death, faint, bright flames begin to envelop his battered head. Suddenly, a stylized game-like system screen adorned with dragon motifs flickers to life, alerting him that his core is missing and his life is fading fast. While his soul floats peacefully within a protective blue ring of energy, Leo dreams of a paradise where he lies happily on his back inside a cave of glowing crystals, his belly full and completely satisfied. Back in the harsh reality, the bruised and broken Leo remains unconscious on the dirt as a faint golden magic circle begins to form beneath him. Standing over him, Bianca looks down with deep worry in her red eyes. Back at the school courtyard, Vanessa stands with her hand to her cheek, gossiping with her peers about the useless summon. She wears a mocking, self-satisfied smirk, entirely pleased with her cruelty. Before leaving, Bianca had confronted Vanessa with tightly clenched fists and boiling rage. Vanessa had only laughed hysterically, completely mocking Bianca's useless sympathy. Bianca had pointed her finger angrily, yelling at Vanessa for her heinous actions. In response, Vanessa's playful demeanor vanished, replaced by a serious, icy glare. Facing both Vanessa and Vincent alongside their newly evolved, towering white Thunder Bear, Bianca could only grit her teeth in silent, burning frustration. The male instructor speaks calmly to the students, warning them of the dangers ahead. He shares a vision of the treacherous northern hills, where dark shadow, monsters with glowing red eyes, roam the ruined purple landscape. Bianca stands quietly, a transparent magical projection shimmering over her body as she gathers her resolve. She opens her eyes with absolute determination, refusing to back down. Ignoring the warnings, Bianca walks resolutely into the dangerous trial area, her silver ponytail swinging. Behind her, the instructor closes his eyes and sighs in deep worry for her safety. Back in the scrapyard, Leo weakly pushes himself up, small flames igniting around his claws and tail as he prepares to defend himself. Looming directly over him is a giant green corrosive toad with menacing glowing yellow eyes. Despite his bruised and battered face, Leo's gaze remains defiant. He bares his sharp fangs and lets out a fierce roar at the massive monster, refusing to be easy prey. With unwavering determination burning in his eyes, Leo sprints forward, boldly, charging head-on at the giant. Leaping high into the air, Leo punches the giant corrosive toad square in the face, his tiny claws bursting with bright, fiery energy. The impact knocks Leo back, sending him crashing into a cloud of dust near an old tire. Tears of pure pain well up in his eyes, but his expression remains fiercely determined to survive. Suddenly, a small fireball strikes the back of the corrosive toad, bursting into brilliant flames. The giant toad flails in agony as the fire engulfs it, while Leo watches in surprise from a distance. Bianca dashes through the cluttered scrapyard, searching frantically for any sign of life. Her silver hair flows behind her as she pushes forward through the junk. Bianca suddenly stops, looking surprised as wild insects buzz nearby. She spots Leo floating peacefully on his back in a small pool of clear water, casually relaxing with tiny flames dancing on his hands. Bianca's red eyes widen in wonder as she gazes down at him. A golden energy egg floats gently in the air, encircled by concentric blue rings of magical energy. In a flash of memory, Bianca recalls her sister Tanya, lying weak in a hospital bed, breathing through an oxygen mask. She looks sadly at a small red pill in her hand, knowing she desperately needs the Academy's top reward to save. Pushing aside her doubts, Bianca gently places her hand on Leo's head, invoking a glowing red contract symbol on his forehead. She carefully cradles the sleeping, injured lizard in both hands amidst the debris of the scrapyard. The Devour Evolution System interface suddenly flashes, displaying glowing characters that confirm the successful contract. It registers Bianca's hidden potential, projecting an image of her standing before a colossal statue of a seated warrior goddess beneath a blood-red sky. Instantly, a warm pink healing glow envelops Leo's bruised body, rapidly knitting his wounds. Feeling the sudden rush of comforting energy, Leo lets out a peaceful smile as he recovers. Bianca looks on in surprise and profound relief as the little lizard heals before her eyes. Just then, the system interface flashes again, warning them of an active threat nearby, a Tier 1 magical beast. Bianca kneels in a desolate junkyard, holding her small companion Leo in her hands, while the defeated smoking carcass of a corrosive toad lies nearby. She stands with the small orange beast over the smoking remains, completely stunned by the aftermath of the. Bianca quickly covers her mouth in sheer disbelief as Leo happily approaches the highly poisonous magical beast's corpse. Suddenly, the golden interface of the Devour Evolution System appears, confirming that devouring the target is complete and granting Leo 150 evolution points. The system prompts Leo to decide whether to begin his transformation, and the small beast roars with intense determination. Standing within a brilliant blue magic circle, Leo is soon enveloped in a blinding light of evolution. His physical form begins to mature rapidly, sprouting a pair of orange leathery wings and forming small beads on his horns. A glowing energy sphere encapsulates his silhouette before dispersing into a warm light that reveals his newly evolved winged dragon. Leo spreads his wings and roars proudly under the daytime sky before landing, back on the cracked ground in front of a delighted Bianca. The system interface flashes to show he has acquired the Dragon Flame skill, which Leo immediately tests by breathing a powerful flame. A diagnostic display illustrates how the intense heat of the dragon flame can shatter the bones of targets at a fundamental level. Adorable yet powerful, the newly evolved Leo looks up to the sky with a smug, highly confident smile. Bianca smiles warmly, leaning down to welcome her small, winged partner with open arms. Cradled in her palms, Leo enjoys a quiet, tender moment of bonding with his partner amidst the rusted metal of the scrapyard. Their peaceful moment is cut short as large, ominous shadows pass over the ground of the desolate junkyard. Sensing a sudden danger, Bianca quickly turns her head over her shoulder while Leo's expressive eyes widen in alarm. A massive, heavily armored gray rhino with glowing red energy cracks emerges from the shadows near the forest edge. Spotting smoke rising near the school academy, Bianca grits her teeth in determination, preparing to face the threat. The aggressive armored rhino charges forward at full speed, kicking up a massive cloud of dust, with its sharp ivory horn leading. Leo quickly breathes a hot flame onto Bianca's hand, allowing her to conjure a glowing fireball of her own. Bianca steps forward with absolute focus, shouting an attack command and directing her spell toward the charging beast. The armored rhino roars furiously as it barrels forward, completely unaffected by the crackling flames. Bianca points her hand authoritatively, instructing her companion to strike as the rhino's chest is met with explosive sparks. With her sharp eyes locked on the target, Leo leaps high into the bright blue sky to prepare his attack. Winged Leo hovers confidently in the air, while the heavy rhino misses its mark, crashing hard onto the cracked ground. The system interface locks a red digital crosshair onto the vulnerable spot on the struggling rhino's neck. Leo lands nimbly on the heavy armor plates of the rhino's back, wearing a mischievous grin. Gathering fiery energy in his throat, Leo unleashes a concentrated stream of dragon flame directly onto the weak. Bianca covers her mouth in awe of Leo's combat prowess as he continues to blast the thrashing monster with the continuous fire triggers a violent bone-shattering explosion, completely engulfing the rhino's upper body in black smoke. The defeated armored rhino collapses onto its side, allowing Leo to happily chew on its glowing blue magical core. The system interface confirms the addition of 800 evolution points, while unlocking the hardened skin passive talent. Leo flies joyfully through the clear sky while Bianca lets out a long, heavy sigh of relief. Bianca cradles her partner in her arms, looking at him with worry, while Leo rests his head on her shoulder with a smug grin. She looks down thoughtfully, her red eyes reflecting a sense of melancholy and deep reflection. Bianca recalls her current low ranking at the academy, her determination flaring as she resolves to rise to the top 10. Sensing her heavy thoughts, Leo looks forward with fierce, unwavering determination in his eyes. A golden evolutionary preview appears, showing the silhouette of Leo's future form as a massive crimson dragon. The powerful crimson dragon roars in the vision, just as a giant beam of turquoise light suddenly shoots up from the distant valley. Bianca looks toward the bright green-blue light radiating from the forest, the glow reflecting clearly in her eyes. Leo looks up in absolute excitement, prompting Bianca to smile gently as she prepares to investigate the anomaly. Whispering encouragement to her partner, Bianca carries Leo out of the junkyard and heads toward the dense green forest. They navigate through a dirt clearing, eventually reaching a deep forest area where birds fly around a massive, ancient tree. On the thick branches of the ancient tree, a legendary emerald sage fruit pulses, with brilliant green magical. Dozens of glowing red eyes peer from the dark shadows as a large pack of wild beasts gathers aggressively beneath the tree. As several gale wolves scramble over the mossy rocks, Leo strokes his chin with a smug, scheming grin. Bianca hides behind a large mossy rock, peering cautiously at a massive, volcanic rock bear guarding the fruit. As Bianca sweats from worry, the system interface flashes, revealing that devouring the fruit yields 8,000 evolution points. Leo's eyes widen and turn into golden stars of greed upon seeing the high chance of obtaining a legendary skill. After a brief comedic fantasy of absolute victory, a nervous Leo carefully sneaks over the rocks toward his prize. Leo flies forward swiftly, diving headfirst into a thick, puffy cloud of white smoke to conceal his presence. While a gale wolf watches the battlefield, the massive volcanic rock bear stands firmly beneath the glowing fruit tree. Suddenly, several gale wolves charge forward, igniting a massive chaotic brawl among the gathered monsters. Leo watches the brutal clash in shock as the volcanic rock bear delivers a powerful punch to assert its dominance. One of the defeated gale wolves collapses on the grass right in front of Bianca and Leo's hiding spot. Bianca looks down in shock while Leo eagerly demands to devour the fallen beast to gain its energy. Her expression turning fierce and commanding, Bianca prepares to assist her partner in the chaotic clearing. Bianca brings her hands together to cast a speed-enhancing spell, wrapping Leo in a soft white aura. Leo quickly devours the dark stream of energy from the fallen wolf, earning another 800 evolution points. Turning around with his tail flame burning brightly, Leo grins mischievously, ready to consume even more target. Sweeping across the field at extreme speed, Leo leaves a trail of black smoke as he devours multiple defeated beasts. Leo happily munches on the defeated monsters, thoroughly enjoying the massive influx of energy. The Devour Evolution System interface appears, confirming that his evolution conditions have finally been met. Surrounded by a spinning ring of white light and dark energy slashes, Leo begins his evolution into a dragon blood war lizard. A golden vortex opens in the sky, and a single glowing red feather floats down, amidst sparkling fire ember. Leo emerges in his newly evolved bipedal crimson dragon form, unlocking the guaranteed hit flame pierce capability. The majestic crimson dragon Leo rears back and roars mightily, leaving Bianca staring up in absolute. While Bianca's mind is comically blown, the fierce crimson dragon poses with a cute, sparkly expression. Nearby, the bruised and injured volcanic rock bear slowly reaches its massive clawed hand toward the emerald sage fruit. Just as the bear is about to grab it, it turns its head in surprise, sensing an incoming attack. Bianca raises her silver crescent staff, casting a spell that rains down 3 fiery meteors onto the stone bear. The bear roars in anger at the distraction, completely unaware of Leo's claw, charging with intense fire energy. Leo flies forward at high speed, striking the bear's arm and shattering its stone armor to expose a glowing blue. The massive volcanic rock bear crashes face down onto the rocky ground, allowing Crimson Dragon Leo to land triumphantly on top. The massive, stone-armored volcanic rock bear roars with primeval fury, raising its colossal right paw as orange flames and molten magma course through its veins, ready to pulverize anything in its path. Down on the dirt below, the Crimson Dragon, Leo, struggles against the suffocating pressure, grinding his teeth as green saliva drips from his jaws, while his hostile red eyes remain, locked onto his towering adversary. From the safety of the dense green forest, Bianca steps forward to intervene, raising her silver crescent staff to project a protective white-green magical barrier around her companion. Backed by her healing magic, Leo is instantly revitalized, wearing a pair of cool black sunglasses and sporting a smug grin against a sparkly pink background. Sensing the surge of newfound power, the small dragon victoriously raises his clasped hands, basking in a comical aura of floating stars and pink stripes. With absolute confidence, he proudly flexes his bicep muscles like a seasoned bodybuilder, still rocking his sunglasses with a sparkling, triumphant grin. Wasting no time to press the advantage, Leo draws in a deep breath as bright yellow flames begin swirling inside his wide-open jaws. With a powerful roar, he unleashes a massive, devastating torrent of orange and yellow fire that completely engulfs the entire battlefield in a blinding blaze. The sheer force of the fiery blast throws the massive volcanic rock bear backward in a blurred, heavy impact. The devastating stream of dragonfire collides directly with the beast's chest armor, erupting into a spectacular shower of yellow sparks as the stone defense begins to melt. Standing victorious amidst a clearing littered with the remnants of defeated black rat monsters, Leo stands proud, his back illuminated by the fading embers of his magnificent attack. Nearby, the giant volcanic rock bear can only stare forward in complete and stunned disbelief at the overwhelming display of power. With its stone armor completely shattered, the heavily armored volcanic rock bear finally collapses face down onto the grassy ground, defeated. Seizing the opportunity, Leo leans forward, eagerly inhaling the dark purple smoke of the fallen beast's raw energy to initiate his Devour ability. Immediately, the golden interface of the Devour Evolution System flashes to life, confirming the acquisition of 10,000 evolution points and updating his progress to 10,000 out of 100,000. Watching from the edge of the forest, Bianca clutches her crescent staff close to her chest, her mouth wide open in utter shock at how rapidly her companion ended the Tier 3 threat. Striking a proud pose under the sparkling stars, Leo holds the glowing green, emerald sage fruit triumphantly in his claw. Without a second thought, he tosses his head back and swallows the rare magical fruit whole, causing a brilliant turquoise energy to radiate outward from his mouth. The golden system interface chimes once more, confirming that devouring the emerald sage fruit has yielded another 40,000 evolution points, triggering an immediate evolution. A blinding flash of white and yellow light erupts from Leo's body next to the ancient tree, signaling the arrival of a brand new form. As the evolution completes, a system notification appears, indicating that he has unlocked a legendary forbidden spell, Ember Dragon Life Burning, which will massively boost the damage of his next skill at the cost of temporary weakness. Beneath the roots of the giant tree, Leo peacefully drifts off to sleep, his newly evolved body now decorated with sharp golden shoulder spikes. The system interface updates to display his next milestone, indicating that the next evolution will require a staggering 250,000 points. Upon waking up, the newly armored Crimson Dragon snickers smugly, covering his mouth with a claw against a comical, sparkly pink backdrop. Amused by his own rapid growth, the armored dragon continues his smug snickering as he evaluates his new power. Standing tall and imposing in the quiet forest, Leo looks down proudly at the scattered bodies of defeated black rat monsters, fully embracing his formidable new stature. Bianca is left utterly startled by the sudden transformation, covering her mouth as she processes the rapid escalation. Comically overwhelmed, a chibi version of her is shown surrounded by mischievous, dark blue cartoon ghosts, deeply worried about how terrifyingly fast her contract beast is growing. The majestic, armored dragon Leo looks back at his partner, his deep maroon scales and gold shoulder guards gleaming brilliantly under the forest canopy. Staring up at him, Bianca's purple-red eyes widen with absolute awe and wonder, as she realizes that her supposedly coreless companion has grown into something truly magnificent. Emboldened by her admiration, Leo proudly flexes his muscles against a bold blue and white background to show off his physical prowess. He shifts angles to highlight his heavily armored chest and the sharp golden shoulder spikes that now define his powerful silhouette. Bianca puts a hand to her chin, thoughtfully analyzing the situation and worrying that such a large armored dragon might attract too much unwanted attention. Amused by her gesture, Leo mimics her exactly, adopting a matching, thoughtful pose and scratching his own chin with a single claw. To resolve her concerns, the massive armored dragon suddenly becomes enveloped in a brilliant, rising column of golden light. The intense pillar of light begins to shrink rapidly, condensing Leo's massive physical form back down to a manageable size. With the de-evolution complete, the adorable small orange-winged dragon stands on the grass, looking up at Bianca with big, innocent amber eyes. Relieved, Bianca gently cradles the cute, tiny lizard dragon in her arms as they resume their walk through the quiet forest. Looking down at the small creature, Bianca's expression softens with a slight blush. Touched by the close bond they are forming, she continues to look down tenderly, holding her cute companion close to her chest as they enjoy a rare moment of peace. Bianca gently pets Leo's head, and the little dragon snuggles happily against her white academy uniform. Together, they make their way out of the woods, with Leo sitting comfortably on Bianca's shoulder, his tail flame burning softly in the gentle breeze. Their peaceful moment is interrupted by a sharp ringing sound, and Bianca pulls out her gold-cased smartphone to check the notification. On the screen, a video message plays showing a chibi animation of a gray-haired instructor pointing a stick at a blackboard, announcing the imminent arrival of the academy entrance exam. Hearing the news, the small dragon poses proudly with closed eyes and a raised fist, eager to show his strength in the upcoming trials. Bianca cradles him in her hands, looking at him with surprise and realizing that the dangerous exam at the Howling Abyss is finally about to begin. Soon they arrive at a grand stone plaza outside the academic temple, where a massive crowd of students and their diverse contract beasts have gathered in a circle. Standing before a glowing yellow backdrop, the middle-aged chief examiner, in a formal dark blue academic suit, addresses the assembly to explain the rules. He explains that the exam will take place inside the menacing Howling Abyss, a dark canyon flanked by massive ribcage bone structures where dangerous beasts lurk in the shadows. To illustrate the challenge, the screen displays a brown-haired student in a red coat commanding a volcanic rock bear against a fierce, double-headed wolf. The scoreboard on display indicates that their final ranking will be determined entirely by their performance and points accumulated during the hunt. The top-ranking students are promised prestigious rewards, including access to a magical storeroom filled with rare books, potion bottles, and glowing red crystals. However, the proctor warns that the trial is not without severe risks, symbolized by an elegant golden certificate burning away, leaving only danger. The candidates are being sent into a barren gray valley where wild, untamed, dragons fly and dangerous beasts roam free. Deep within the rocky canyons of the abyss, a massive horde of diverse and dangerous magical beasts begins to gather. Led by fierce purple wolves adorned with glowing blue runes and a horned brown beast, the stampeding monsters charge forward, ready to trample any unprepared students. The looming threat forces two male students in blue and white academy uniforms to brace themselves defensively. In the distance, a blue-haired girl and her companion face down the massive red-eyed monster horde emerging from a thick, dark The chief examiner raises a finger warningly, advising the students that showing off in the face of such a stampede will only lead to disaster, as life and death are up to fate. Hearing this, a red-haired boy student nearby begins sweating, profusely, his face filled with extreme panic and anxiety. Beside him, a blonde-haired boy student looks utterly shocked and nervous, recalling rumors of previous students who were utterly crushed in past stampedes. The grim reality of the dungeon is visualized by a dark cavern where several defeated students lie unconscious around a stone altar, surrounded by giant bone arches, while a peach-haired girl clutches her hands to her chest in deep worry over the danger. A sharp-eyed brunette girl named Vanessa watches the crowd. Vanessa wears a smug, malicious grin with a small fang showing, seeing the dangerous stampede as nothing more than an opportunity to secure her victory. Standing confidently with her arms crossed, Vanessa poses next to her massive, muscular white Thunderbear King, which crackles with intense blue electricity. With supreme confidence, she leads her beast toward the grand stone gates of Daxia Academy, flanked by two glowing blue dragon statues. Vanessa smiles smugly in her red academy blazer and white shirt, thoroughly enjoying her position of power. Behind her, the nervous red-haired boy student looks back at her with a surprised and intimidated expression. To emphasize her dominance, her white Thunderbear King lets out a fierce roar as purple lightning crackles around its massive body. Meanwhile, Bianca, dressed in her white and blue academy uniform, walks through a dark corridor holding small orange Leo, looking startled as she crosses paths with her. Vanessa laughs mockingly at Bianca, who remains calm and quiet despite the hostile reception. Pointing a finger directly at the small orange dragon, Vanessa loudly mocks Leo's tiny size and weak appearance, calling him a piece of coreless garbage. Bianca's eyes narrow in anger, her red eyes burning with defensive fury as she stands up for her companion. Nearby, the red-haired boy student nervously points a finger, gossiping about how Bianca actually picked up the discarded beast. As the crowd whispers, the small orange Leo looks momentarily dazed and annoyed, surrounded by floating golden crystals in his mind. Vanessa continues to smile, confidently, looking down on Bianca with smug satisfaction. Refusing to back down, Bianca cradles Leo tightly in her arms, glaring at Vanessa with sharp, angry eyes. In her arms, the small orange dragon growls, fiercely showing his tiny teeth as his hostility toward the toxic woman reaches a boiling point. Infuriated by their defiance, Vanessa shouts angrily, her brow furrowed in irritation. She gestures forward, commanding her fierce white Thunderbear King to step forward and teach the insolent pair a harsh lesson. Despite the massive bear looming over him, the tiny orange Leo stands in, Bianca's hands looking cute yet completely determined to fight. Bianca folds her hands politely in front of her waist, remaining poised and calm in the face of the threat. The massive white Thunderbear King, crackling with dangerous blue electricity, stands eye to eye with the tiny, fearless orange dragon. Just as a conflict is about to erupt, a tall, dark-haired young man with a stern expression named Vincent looks on calmly, raising his hand to intervene. Dressed in a high-collared dark coat, Vincent steps between the beasts, commanding the white bear to stand down and reminding them that private fighting is strictly prohibited. Left with no choice, Vanessa grinds her teeth in frustration, annoyed by the sudden interruption of her fun. The teacher proctor observes the situation with a serious expression, ensuring order is maintained in the assembly area. Bianca stands calmly, holding Leo in her hands as she watches the academy officials finalize the preparation. The chief examiner addresses the crowd of students once more, opening his arms wide to welcome them to the start of the exam. At that moment, the golden Devour Evolution System interface pops up in front of Leo, detecting a unique energy source inside the howling abyss. In a space-like mental background, Leo looks up happily as the system details the presence of a thunder sub-dragon soul. The system projects his potential growth, showing him evolving into a sleek orange bipedal dragon with a purple gem embedded in his chest. A close-up of this newly envisioned form highlights his sharp horns and a gold-bordered chest armor plate containing a brilliant purple crystal. The fully evolved bipedal dragon stands proudly against a starry space background, representing the ultimate draconic power Leo hopes to reclaim. Excited by the prospect of reclaiming his true lineage, Chibi Leo squeezes his eyes shut and blushes happily. Meanwhile, in the real world, the massive crowd of academy students in purple uniforms begins walking toward the bright, glowing, golden archway leading to the exam hall. Bianca holds the small orange dragon tightly in her arms, her expression focused and serious as she prepares for the trials ahead. Together they step directly into the brilliant, blinding white-yellow light of the teleportation portal to enter the howling abyss. On the spectator platform, 3 elite proctors stand behind a grand wooden desk to monitor the candidates, Lucas, Clara, and the main proctor. A close-up focuses on the calm, handsome face of the black-haired young tamer, Lucas, also known as Li Xingqiao. As they watch the feed, a simulation displays a massive gray bipedal armored dragon attacking small Leo, representing his seemingly hopeless odds. This is followed by an image of the massive white Thunder Bear King lunging down at the tiny orange dragon, highlighting the sheer power. Lucas smiles smugly, flanked by two miniature beast heads, confident that a coreless dragon is nothing more than a common lizard destined to perish. Next to him, the pink-haired woman Clara, also known as Zhang Qian, looks elegant and focused as she analyzes the candidates. An extreme close-up highlights small orange Leo's forehead and his deeply determined eyes, hinting at a hidden potential. Deep within a dark, starry canyon of his inner world, the small dragon stands before a colossal, majestic, serpentine green dragon spirit that glows with brilliant emerald light. Back on the platform, Clara smiles kindly, expressing her belief that the little dragon has a spirited gaze and might possess unexpected luck. Lucas, however, remains confident and intrigued, wondering if luck alone will be enough to survive the dangers of the abyss. Lucas grins confidently as he watches the battle unfold. In the arena below, Vanessa's formidable Thunder Bear King roars mightily, surrounded by crackling purple electricity and crowned with 3 blue glowing runes that signal a massive power-up. Meanwhile, on the desolate canyon floor of the Howling Abyss, a small and seemingly anxious Leo stands, looking startled by his harsh surroundings. Back at the viewing gallery, Lucas points this out to Clara, confidently declaring that the weak little lizard won't even survive the outermost miasma of the abyss. Clara merely smiles elegantly, resting her hand on her cheek as she asks if he is willing to make a wager should the lizard defy the odds. Lucas laughs heartily, absolutely convinced of his own judgment and the supremacy of his academy's choice. So great is his confidence that Lucas boasts he will literally bite a solid redwood table in half if the beast makes the top 10, prompting Clara to touch her chin in quiet amusement at his dramatic declaration. Lucas turns to Clara, visibly annoyed and defensive, but their banter is quickly cut short by the serious-faced proctor. The middle-aged instructor watches them, with a stoic expression, reminding them to keep their focus on the exam. Pointing a stern, gloved finger, the instructor delivers a quiet warning for order to be maintained. Deep within the canyon, the focus shifts to Bianca, now dressed in her striking ceremonial white gown, with a small tiara, gently cradling a tiny orange Leo in her arms. Small Leo looks up happily at Bianca, finding comfort in her warmth, but his mind briefly flashes back to his earlier struggle, recalling the dark blue canyons where he was forced to run for his life from a horde of relentless wild beasts. Determined not to be prey again, Leo roars out with all his might, his tiny body suddenly enveloped in a swirling, sparkly vortex of pink and white magical energy. As the energy settles, the cute orange lizard stands proudly on the rocky floor, surrounded by sparkling pink stars, while his status screen flashes a new notification. The gold-bordered Devour Evolution System confirms he has successfully consumed a Tier 2 shadow bat. The tiny beast wastes no time, greedily tearing into a dark purple shadow bat carcass lying on the canyon floor. After finishing his meal, Leo proudly holds up a claw, smiling contentedly as glowing white particles drift around him. Floating happily inside a swirling column of bright yellow-orange fire, Leo absorbs the remnants of his hunts. Watching him grow stronger by the second, Bianca smiles warmly and proudly at her uniquely talented companion. Leo breathes out a small puff of light yellow smoke, fully satisfied with his snack. However, their peaceful moment is interrupted as Vanessa makes her presence known, standing confidently with crossed arms beside her massive, crackling Thunder Bear King. Vanessa looks down with a smug, malicious grin, mockery dripping from her every word, as she addresses her rival. Bianca stands tall in her white gown, shouting back defiantly against the oppressive gloom of the... A golden system interface pops up, revealing that Vanessa's beast is indeed a formidable Tier 3 peak, a rank Thunder Bear King. Yet far from being intimidated, tiny Leo strikes a confident pose, his eyes practically gleaming with greed at the prospect of devouring such prime energy. Vanessa's red eyes flare with intense anger as she grits her teeth, furious at the lack of fear from the duo. The two girls face off in the rocky gorge, trading sharp words as their beasts prepare for a potential clash. Before either can make a move, a distant rumbling echoes through the dusty canyon, revealing a stampede of wild winged monsters charging straight toward them. Vanessa's irritation instantly fades, replaced by a sly, knowing. In her mind, Vanessa gleefully anticipates Bianca being trampled into dust by the incoming horde, smugly believing she won't even have to lift a finger to eliminate her rival. Bianca stands resolute, on the stage of the canyon, keeping Leo close. Vanessa points upward, commanding her giant Thunder Bear King to intercept the stampede and secure easy points. Ahead of them, a massive wave of wolves, drakes, and horned monsters rushes forward in a blinding cloud of dust. The Thunder Bear King lunges forward, unleashing massive blue lightning from its claws that strikes the ground and obliterates the incoming beasts in a blinding explosion. Standing triumphantly with her gold-topped red staff, Vanessa surveys the clearing smoke with a smug smile, confident that her score has just secured the top spot. To clean up the remaining beasts, the massive bear gathers raw blue electricity in its right claw once more, roaring mightily as it lifts both fists to unleash another devastating shockwave. Bianca looks down with a tense, serious expression, while Leo looks up with a playful tongue-out grin, completely unfazed, even as a stray golden energy sphere explodes nearby, kicking up black smoke and shattered rocks. As the smoke parts, Leo reveals his majestic armored crimson dragon form, standing tall with spread wings and shining gold armor, instantly striking fear into a group of lingering wild monsters. Bianca gasps in surprise, but Leo moves swiftly to shield her, wrapping his golden armored wing and powerful red tail protectively around. With a glowing fiery yellow eye and a heavily scaled red snout, the crimson dragon stands tall, spreading his wings wide to unleash his ultimate counterattack. Flying forward with immense speed, Leo breathes a massive ball of dragon flame, which quickly expands into a sweeping torrent of orange-yellow fire across the canyon. The wild beasts scream in terror as they try to flee, but the relentless wave of fire catches up, incinerating everything in its path and turning the gorge into a blazing sea. Bianca watches in calm wonder as the fiery storm subsides, leaving behind nothing but the smoldering, charred bodies of the defeated monster. More smoking, defeated beasts litter the valley floor, signaling a complete sweep. Nearby, Vanessa falls backward onto the ground in absolute disbelief, clutching her staff while her bear stands guard over. Looking up at the cloudy sky, Vanessa spots a massive, glowing purple serpentine, dragon soul hovering in the air. It is the legendary Tier 8 Thunder Subdragon, Soul, roaring mightily amidst the storm clouds. Believing this is her divine chance to push her bear to S rank, Vanessa pushes herself up, holding her glowing red staff high with a smug, re-energized smile, while her bear roars with crackling light. Clad in her red coat, Vanessa strides forward confidently across the canyon, which is now a silent field of golden glowing, defeated monsters. Suddenly, armored crimson dragon Leo blocks her path, roaring mightily as brilliant white-yellow beams of energy radiate from his chest, ready for a direct confrontation. Feeling incredibly satisfied with his gains, Leo's system interface flashes with a massive update, confirming he has accumulated over 10,000 evolution points. Bianca smiles gently at her partner's incredible growth, standing proudly beside the majestic crimson dragon as he lets out a powerful. Leo's armored snout and glowing eye focus on the surrounding area, but Bianca suddenly turns her head, startled by a sudden shift in the atmosphere. The purple thunder subdragon soul crackles with lightning overhead, while Leo is suddenly engulfed in a bright white light of de-evolution. Shrinking back down, small orange Leo happily perches on Bianca's shoulder, his tail flame burning bright as they face the massive purple lightning dragon, spirit floating ahead. Vanessa walks through the rocky landscape, her Thunder Bear King close behind, only to cross paths with Bianca, who walks confidently in the opposite direction, with Leo on her shoulder. Spotting her rival still breathing, Vanessa's irritation boils over, and she raises her crackling staff, shouting in pure anger. Bianca looks back calmly at the screaming girl, while Leo peers cautiously from her shoulder, completely unimpressed by Vanessa's outburst. Refusing to back down, Vanessa furiously orders her beast to attack, and the white Thunder Bear King roars furiously, purple lightning crackling from its maw. As the giant bear lunges forward aggressively, cute orange Leo steps off Bianca's shoulder, flames wrapping around his tiny fists as he prepares to defend her. Vanessa watches with a cold grin, expecting an easy crush as her giant bear swipes a massive claw down at the tiny levitating lizard. But in a flash, a giant fiery dragon claw intercepts the strike, knocking the white bear backward into a cloud of dust as the fully evolved crimson dragon Leo emerges roaring mightily. With his golden armored snout gleaming, the fierce crimson dragon breathes a highly concentrated blast of red-orange fire directly at his opponent. The massive wall of dragon flame slams into the Thunder Bear King, leaving the giant beast roaring in agony as it is scorched by the intense heat and crackling lightning. Vanessa grits her teeth in desperation, watching in horror as the evolved Crimson Dragon Leo stands head-to-head against her battered beast. With a swift, powerful motion, Leo whips his spiked tail, engulfed in bright orange fire, sending the white bear reeling back from the heavy impact. Clutching her staff tightly, Vanessa's red eyes burn with intense frustration and rage as she looks at her exhausted, hunched-over beast. The Thunder Bear King's blue eyes glow as it struggles to stay standing, while Bianca stands close to Leo's massive neck, looking worried about the escalating battle. Suddenly, the bear's eyes flare with a deep crimson-red light as it enters a dangerous berserk state, raising a purple glowing fist to strike the dragon down. In a lightning-fast transition, Leo flies high into the sky, dodging the blow before launching a giant, fiery dragon claw strike straight toward the bear's chest. The direct claw strike lands with a burst of orange flame, completely overpowering the massive beast and causing Vanessa to gasp in absolute shock. Evolved Crimson Dragon Leo stands majestically over the defeated bear, wings spread wide, leaving Vanessa sweating and pale as she clutches her staff in total defeat. Vanessa's face twists in utter terror as the Crimson Dragon looms over her fallen beast. In a flashback of the battle, the snarling Thunder Bear King stands no chance against the armored dragon's piercing gaze. Realizing his dominance, Leo leans down and breathes a powerful blast of elemental frost fire from his maw, ready to finish the job. The Devour Evolution System flickers to life, confirming the feast was successful with a massive gain of 40,000 evolution points. Standing on the cracked canyon floor, Leo looks up as a colossal, glowing golden dragon claw manifests amidst the dark clouds above, a physical manifestation of his newly acquired power. The massive armored dragon towers over Vanessa, his shadow completely engulfing her small form on the shattered ground. Paralyzed with fear, she looks up at the beast she once called garbage, realizing the terrifying gap in their strength as Leo's presence crushes her spirit. Vanessa desperately raises her staff in a futile defensive stance as the massive golden armored claw reaches down from the sky. The giant claw gently but firmly snatches her up, surrounding her body with wisps of dark, smoky energy as Leo prepares to cast her aside. Leo stares down with sharp, amber-yellow eyes, showing no mercy for the girl who mocked him. Trapped in his massive grasp, Vanessa is reduced to tears, gasping in pure terror as she realizes that her arrogance has finally led to her downfall. After being set back on the ground, Vanessa can only grumble in defeat. But Leo isn't finished with his lesson. With a casual, humorous flick of his claw, he sends the former top student flying backward through the air, clearing her from his path once and for all. High above the jagged mountain peaks, the translucent purple silhouette of the Thunder Sub-Dragon Soul floats within the storm clouds. Spreading his wings with renewed purpose, armored Crimson Dragon Leo takes flight, soaring upward to confront the legendary spirit. Leo pushes higher into the gray, cloudy sky, his eyes locked on his next target. The massive, glowing purple serpentine dragon soul hovers menacingly, its entire body crackling with arcs of purple electricity as it prepares to defend its domain. The Thunder Sub-Dragon Soul bares its fangs, its eyes glowing a blinding white as it prepares to strike. Floating mid-air, Leo remains calm and focused, bracing himself for the divine power of the Tier 8 spirit. As Leo maneuvers through the narrow rocky cliffs, a thick black storm cloud rolls in with unnatural speed. A sudden, blinding bolt of blue lightning strikes the canyon below, signaling the start of the Dragon Soul's devastating assault. A massive explosion of dust and debris erupts across the canyon floor from the impact of the lightning. Watching from below, Bianca struggles to keep her footing against the heavy winds, gritting her teeth as she holds her silver staff steady against the shockwave. The powerful strike pins Leo to the cracked canyon floor, where blue lightning continues to surge around his armored scales. Smoke rises from his body as he grits his teeth in pain, sweat dripping down his face while he struggles to overcome the paralyzing energy. The colossal purple thunder sub-dragon soul roars again, raining down bolts of purple lightning to finish the trapped dragon. The majestic spirit looks down, with glowing white eyes, seemingly indifferent to the struggle of the red dragon below. Gathering golden, laser-like light beams around its head, the spirit prepares an even more powerful attack. Despite the purple lightning striking all around him, Leo looks up with fierce determination, bracing his body for the next wave of the onslaught. Seeing Leo in trouble, Bianca reaches out and shouts a command to activate her support magic. Leo feels the surge of protection and focuses, baring his fangs, as he prepares to launch a counterattack of his own. Taking to the skies once more, Leo flies with incredible speed through the storm. He draws in a deep breath and unleashes a fierce stream of orange-yellow flame, cutting through the dark cloud. The roaring torrent of fire slams directly into the distant purple sub-dragon, soul high in the clouds. For a moment, the sky turns orange as the legendary spirit is completely engulfed in Leo's intense dragon flames. Bianca looks up with a proud smile, believing the tide has turned as she grips her silver crescent staff. However, as the mist clears, the purple thunder sub-dragon soul emerges completely unfazed, glowing even more fiercely than before. The spirit spreads its massive wings, crackling with intensified purple, electricity that fills the sky. It unleashes 4 powerful, intersecting beams of golden-white laser light, creating a web of destruction that Leo cannot easily. A massive circular shockwave of purple energy expands across the sky, centered on the spirit. Leo struggles to stay airborne, but a colossal bolt of purple lightning strikes him directly, overpowering his defenses. The beam of purple lightning blasts straight down into the canyon with the force of a falling star. Bianca is thrown backward by the sheer force of the shockwave, blood trickling from her mouth as she desperately grips her staff to stay conscious. Collapsing onto her hands and knees, Bianca gasps for air on the rocky ground, her ceremonial gown dirtied by the battle. Sweat and blood cover her face as she grits her teeth in pain, her only thought being the safety of her companion. The Devour Evolution System sounds a dire warning, identifying the spirit as a Tier 8 entity and recommending an immediate retreat. But Leo stands his ground, standing defensively on the canyon floor and growling fiercely at the impossible. Odd. Leo's fiery yellow eye glows with an unyielding light as he decides to risk everything. Flames begin to burn fiercely on his golden horns, signaling the start of a dangerous, life-burning ultimate evolution. Leo rears back as his chest begins to pulse with golden light, and a crown of fire erupts from his head. His wings spread wide as the golden fire of evolution fully engulfs him, transforming the canyon into a vortex of heat and light. The brilliant golden-orange evolutionary fire illuminates the entire abyss with a blinding radiance. Bianca watches in shock, the intense light reflecting in her wide red eyes as she witnesses the dragon's true power awaken. Bianca's eyes widen as a massive, translucent red dragon claw manifests in the sky. The claw reaches out and seizes the spirit's energy, representing Leo's intent to devour the Tier 8 soul once and for all. The Thunder Sub-Dragon's soul roars one final time as it is engulfed in the crushing electrical energy of the dragon's grip. Leo stands firmly on the ground, watching as the spirit is broken down into pure, absorbable energy. Clutching her injured arm, Bianca looks down at the glowing digital bracelet on her wrist to check the rankings. Her face remains tense and determined as she sees their scores skyrocket, realizing they have just claimed the top spot in the academy. A small, concentrated purple orb of electrical energy floats before Leo, containing the essence of the fallen dragon spirit. Leo looks at the prize with a calm and determined expression, ready to integrate this massive power into his own being. With a sharp, yellow-eyed glare, Leo prepares himself for the final stage of the process. He lets out a mighty roar as his chest glows bright gold, drawing the orb's energy deep into his core. The system interface confirms that the requirements have been met, showing a full experience bar and announcing that evolution is now available. Leo roars toward the sky, but this time, arcs of purple lightning crackle from his open jaw. A massive, double-pronged beam of purple lightning shoots upward from the canyon, piercing the dark storm clouds. Bianca grips her silver staff tightly, her long hair blowing wildly in the wind as lightning strikes the earth all around her. Multiple thick bolts of purple lightning cascade down from the swirling vortex in the sky. Bianca watches the spectacle in awe, her white gown illuminated by the brilliant purple flashes as the world itself seems to vibrate. Bianca stands with her mouth open in shock as the light begins to fade, revealing a terrifying new presence. From the heart of the storm, a majestic dark purple lightning dragon emerges, its body covered in heavy golden armor plate. The newly evolved dragon reveals its formidable head, its scales a mix of white and pale purple under the flashing lightning. It bares its sharp teeth, radiating a level of power that dwarfs anything seen before in the howling abyss. The fully evolved lightning dragon Leo spreads his massive wings, each movement sending ripples of purple electricity through the air. The system confirms the acquisition of a new ultimate skill, Heaven's Judgment Thunder Prism. Leo's eyes glow with a bright orange fire as he embraces his new identity. He bares his teeth in a fearsome display of dominance, finally possessing the form and strength of a true draconic powerhouse. Bianca can only look up in silence at the massive dark purple dragon hovering before her. The sheer scale of Leo's new form is overwhelming, a living storm, crackling with the very lightning he once feared. A new system prompt appears, revealing that this is only the first of 5 sub-dragon souls required. An illustration shows the clash of 5 elemental dragons, fire, earth, ice, lightning, and wind, needed to reach the status of a true divine dragon. The tension breaks as Leo shifts back into a more manageable yet still formidable presence, appearing almost like a warm, smiling version of his former self. Bianca stands gracefully with her crescent staff, ready to return and claim her place at the top. Crackling with residual purple electricity, the lightning dragon prepares for takeoff. Bianca climbs onto his massive back, and together they soar through the air, heading toward the exit of the abyss. Back at the Grand Stone Temple Plaza, all eyes are on the towering golden archway of the portal. A blinding white-yellow light erupts from the gateway as the silhouettes of the surviving students begin to emerge. A red-haired student looks back with a cocky smile, confident in his performance. Nearby, Lucas stands next to a massive dark gray earth dragon, his chest puffed out as he waits for the final rankings to be finalized. The crowd of students is filled with surprises as a student with short red hair stares in awe at a majestic ice-feathered phoenix. The creature's blue crystal wings glow brilliantly, marking it as one of the top contenders of the exam. Not everyone is celebrating, however, as an orange-haired student looks around with a worried expression. She notices the conspicuous absence of Vanessa, whose powerful Thunder Bear King was expected to dominate the leaderboard. A blonde-haired student with sharp orange eyes watches the portal with a dismissive sneer. He assumes that Bianca's small orange lizard couldn't possibly have achieved a score, expecting them to crawl out with nothing if they survived at all. The blonde student stands with his arms open, basking in the attention of his peers, as the three elite proctors observe the plaza from their grand desk. Lucas sits comfortably, sipping his tea and enjoying the apparent failure of his rival's choice. Lucas speaks with absolute confidence, a smirk playing on his lips as he talks to the chief examiner. He gestures toward the scoreboard, relishing the moment and mocking the lizard that Clara had defended. The three proctors remain calm, but Clara maintains a warm, knowing smile as she addresses the others. She refuses to count Bianca and Leo out, even as the exam time draws to its final seconds. Clara's purple eyes look focused, scanning the portal for any sign of movement. The proctors continue their hushed conversation, debating the likely fate of the students still trapped within the abyss. Lucas is practically beaming with joy, convinced that his predictions have come true. The atmosphere at the desk turns serious as they observe the plaza, preparing to close the session and announce the winners. Just as the portal begins to fade, a wide shot of the stone plaza captures a sudden surge of light from the golden archway. Bianca, dressed back in her blue-trimmed academy uniform, walks out calmly with a small orange Leo sitting contentedly on her shoulder. Little Leo rests his head on Bianca's shoulder, closing his eyes as if he hadn't just faced a Tier 8 spirit. The students on the plaza are stunned, with several turning to each other in disbelief that the F-rank duo actually survived the ordeal. Lucas stands up behind the grand wooden desk, looking out over the plaza with a mixture of surprise and annoyance. He quickly sits back down, trying to maintain his composure as he dismisses their survival as mere luck, unaware of the score they've brought back. Vincent stands confidently in the academy courtyard, a smug expression on his face as he looks off to the side. Behind him, the VIP seating remains empty, while a large, ornate electronic scoreboard begins to glow with blue energy, its grid preparing to display the final results of the exam. A wave of shock ripples through the crowd of academy students as they witness the scoreboard flicker to life. The names begin to populate, showing Wang Teng from the White Academy in a high position with a staggering score of 19,615 points. The names on the digital board update at a frantic pace, neon blue text scrolling rapidly across the screen. The system processes the final tallies, highlighting Wang Teng's impressive achievement for the White Academy as the crowd holds its breath. The rankings shift one last time, briefly placing Wang Teng in third before the final update solidifies the standings. The scoreboard illuminates the courtyard, revealing Bianca in first place with an overwhelming 393,911 points, leaving Wang Teng in second with 193,615. A red-haired student in the crowd stands paralyzed with his mouth wide open, unable to process the massive gap in scores. Nearby, a steady hand holds a porcelain teacup, the steam rising as the reality of the results sinks in. The teacup slips from trembling fingers, shattering against the floor and splashing hot tea across the tiles. At the VIP table, Vincent, Clara, and the gray-haired instructor all turn toward the scoreboard, their faces twisted in sheer disbelief. The gray-haired instructor calls out in surprise, his eyes wide as he stares at the impossible numbers. Beside him, Vincent's smugness has vanished, replaced by a furrowed brow and a face dripping with sweat as he glares at the board in anger. Despite the tension, Clara remains poised in her high-backed chair, a pleasant smile playing on her lips. Below the stage, the massive scoreboard continues to dominate the Grand Plaza, standing as a testament to the unexpected turn of events. Students in Blue Academy uniforms look up with expressions of complete awe, whispering about the historic score. On the main stage, the instructor stands between a brooding, silent Vincent and a perfectly calm Clara. The instructor turns to Bianca on the stone stage to begin the ceremony. On the table before them lie the hard-earned rewards: a wheat-patterned coin pouch, a glowing green glass bottle, and an official certificate of qualification. With a warm smile, the instructor offers his congratulations and encourages Bianca for her future. Bianca reaches out to accept the glowing green bottle, which houses a miniature luminous sprout, radiating life. A gentle smile spreads across Bianca's face, her ruby-red eyes glowing softly, with relief. She pulls the prize bottle close, holding it protectively against her academy blazer, knowing how much this means for her companion. In the distance, the mountain backdrop is illuminated by floating, glowing purple-orange berries. A golden dragon-themed system screen appears before Leo, notifying him that the Devouring Evolution System can provide massive evolution points from these high-value items. Bianca holds the prize pouch while Leo sits before her, his eyes sparkling with greed as drool drips from his mouth. The small dragon eagerly reaches his claws toward the bag, already imagining the feast ahead. The silence is broken as Vincent stands up abruptly, shouting his protest to the entire courtyard. While Clara remains unmoved, Vincent points an accusing finger at the floating scoreboard, refusing to accept the validity of the result. Vincent's anger boils over as he continues to yell, his black beast perched on his shoulder with glowing yellow eyes. His gaze sharpens into a hateful glare, focused entirely on the girl who upstaged everyone. The surrounding students exchange worried glances, their anxiety growing as the situation escalates. The instructor looks increasingly stressed, pulling out a handkerchief to wipe the sweat from his forehead. The instructor's uncertainty is visible as he wavers under the pressure of the accusation. Vincent continues his aggressive shouting, adamantly refusing to let the current ranking stand. Standing behind the wooden counter, Vincent addresses the crowd with a booming voice, demanding an investigation. Beside him, Clara watches the outburst with a quiet, observant grace. Vincent leans forward over the desk, his frustration reaching a breaking point as he rants about the scoring system. Below the desk, Clara remains unbothered, calmly, holding her cup of steaming. Clara turns toward Vincent with a pleasant, knowing smile that catches him off guard. Vincent looks back at her, and his anger slowly fades, replaced by a confident and smug grin, as if they share a secret. The two representatives sit in their high-backed chairs, observing the students in the courtyard below. Clara speaks elegantly, gesturing with her teacup as she addresses the validity of the exam's core algorithm. Clara continues to speak with a bright and cheerful expression, her words carrying a hidden weight. Vincent watches her, momentarily surprised by the turn the conversation has taken. The two sit beneath a glowing golden archway, the authority of their positions, clear to everyone in the plaza. Clara settles back into her chair, maintaining her poised demeanor while holding her. Suddenly, Clara's expression shifts, becoming serious and intensely focused. Vincent's confidence shatters instantly, and he breaks into a cold sweat, his eyes widening in realization. Hot tea or steam splashes against Vincent's shoulder armor, though he barely reacts to the physical sting. He grits his teeth in silent frustration, struggling to contain the rage bubbling beneath the surface. The instructor regains his composure, his face becoming solemn and resolute as he prepares to finalize the ceremony. He stands at the wooden podium, ready to address the students one last time. The instructor smiles warmly and speaks cheerfully into the microphone, officially acknowledging the victor. Bianca responds with a bright smile, flashing a peace sign to the cheering crowd. The instructor presents a tray holding the coin pouch and a golden recommendation letter. Bianca reaches out with both hands, officially receiving the documents that secure her future. Vincent sinks back into his chair, closing his eyes in a gesture of bitter defeat. On the stage, the instructor claps his hands and laughs heartily, celebrating the birth of a new top-tier. The instructor moves among the students, engaging them in a lively and spirited conversation. He continues to talk cheerfully with the young tamers, specifically offering praise to Bianca for her performance. Vincent's black-gloved hand sets his teacup down firmly on its saucer, the clink echoing his internal mood. He sits in silence, staring ahead with a cold, brooding look that promises future triumph. As the crowd begins to disperse, Bianca looks back over her shoulder at Vincent, who has already turned away in disgust. The instructor concludes his speech with a final, warm smile to the remaining students. Vincent suddenly stands again, shouting a defiant remark at the instructor across the counter. He grits his teeth in an extreme display of anger, his pride clearly wounded by the day's events. Vincent eventually sits back down, resting a gloved hand on his lap as he tries to regain his dignity. He turns his head to speak directly to Bianca, who stands nearby, with Leo perched on her shoulder. Vincent's sharp, cold eyes glare down at the girl and her small beast. Bianca doesn't flinch, pointing forward defiantly with a determined look that matches the fierce expression on Leo's face. The instructor's eye widens in shock at the intensity of the confrontation. Bianca remains still, holding her prize pouch, while Leo watches Vincent with a quiet, focused intensity. A male student and the instructor look on, surprised by the ongoing tension between the elite representative and the student. Vincent continues to shout his protests, his black beast shifting on his shoulder. In a state of total outrage, Vincent leans over the desk and points an accusing finger at Bianca and Leo. The other students watch from behind, stunned by the representative's lack of restraint. Despite the accusations, Bianca remains completely calm in the center of the courtyard. Leo sits on her shoulder with a happy smile, the flame on the tip of his tail burning with a bright, confident light. Bianca and Leo look forward with serious, determined expressions, ready for whatever comes next. Vincent returns their gaze with a cold, threatening glare that signals a brewing rivalry. Vincent finally begins to walk away, shouting one last angry remark over his shoulder. As he departs, the stone tiles of the courtyard ground begin to crack, glowing with an ominous red aura. A terrifying, red skeletal specter holding a giant scythe manifests behind Vincent, unleashing a crushing pressure. The students nearby are overwhelmed, falling backward onto the stone steps in sheer terror. One male student gasps for air, sweating profusely under the weight of the aura. A blonde-haired girl looks up, her face pale and breathless as she experiences the power of a high-level tamer. Bianca stands her ground against the spectral pressure, her focus unwavering as she raises her arm. Leo stands on her shoulder, completely unfazed, and raises a tiny paw in a defiant gesture. Clara remains seated with her eyes closed, seemingly indifferent to the display of power. Bianca begins to walk forward, protected by a shimmering blue energy dome that neutralizes the red pressure. Clara opens her eyes, looking to the side with a serious and curious expression at Bianca's resilience. Nearby, Vincent is intensely focused, red sparks of energy crackling around his shoulders as he stabilizes his. Vincent's expression calms, though he remains deeply focused on his thoughts. He eventually turns his head away, considering his next move and the potential of the girl he just tried to intimidate. From a low angle, Vincent's back is seen as he moves away, while Clara remains behind the transparent barrier of the desk. Her hands rest calmly on the table, next to her teacup, her poise never having. Clara leans down to speak closely with Bianca, who looks up at her with genuine curiosity. Clara's face breaks into a warm, bright smile, her eyes squinting cheerfully as she talks to the girl. With a playful wink and a wag of her finger, Clara gives Bianca some light-hearted advice while Leo watches. She then extends her hand warmly, welcoming Bianca to consider a different path for her future. Clara speaks happily about the beautiful mountain landscape surrounding the academy, her smile broad and welcoming. In the background, Vincent stands looking annoyed as he watches the interaction. Bianca leans in to whisper something to Leo, who remains perched on her shoulder. The other students watch the scene from a distance, curious about the conversation between the top student and the representative. Leo looks up at Clara with wide, sparkly eyes full of awe and curiosity. Clara smiles down at the small dragon, speaking to him with a gentle and kind tone that puts him at ease. Leo's tail wags excitedly, the flame at the tip burning brighter than ever. He looks incredibly pleased and happy, tilting his head with a wide smile at the attention he's received. The atmosphere turns briefly comedic as Clara looks flustered, with cartoon crows flying around her head in response to Leo's antics. Leo lets out a wide, goofy, and adorable laugh, breaking the tension of the day. Clara reaches down to gently pet Leo on the head, her smile warm and sincere. She moves her fingers to tickle him under the chin, and the small dragon leans into the Under the clear sunny sky, Bianca smiles brightly, feeling a sense of accomplishment with Leo by her side. Across the courtyard, Vincent continues to look annoyed, grumbling to someone near. The air remains tense as Vincent and Bianca have one final face-to-face conversation in the courtyard. They stand before the giant stone statues of the academy, with the instructor and Clara observing the exchange from either side. Bianca holds Leo close, a loving smile on her face as she begins to walk away from the plaza. Leo's tail flame flickers gently in the breeze, while the gray-haired instructor watches them leave with a warm, proud smile. The gray-haired instructor stands in a contemplative silence, his eyes cast downward as he processes the gravity of the recent exam. His expression remains tense as he speaks, the rugged cliffside behind him echoing the weight of his unspoken thought. Suddenly, a wave of shock washes over him, sweat beading on his forehead as he stares at the floating academy scoreboard. The display is undeniable. Bianca has secured the top spot with an incredible 393,911 points, leaving the previous favorite, Wang Teng, trailing far behind in second place. Bianca stands amidst the stone statues and distant mountains, a serene smile on her face, while her tiny companion, Leo, rests comfortably on her shoulder. The vast courtyard plaza is bathed in the warmth of the sun as she stands alone in the center, having achieved the impossible, while the instructor envisions the terrifying power of a purple lightning dragon. A different kind of tension brews in a quiet residential apartment. Tanya, gripped by fear, holds a kitchen knife defensively with both hands, her reflection trembling in a glass of water as she faces an intruder. Despite her terror, Tanya maintains her grip on the blade, her red eyes locked on the arrogant tamer standing in her living room. Damien sneers at her, flanked by his massive armored wolf beast, Ironback, which growls with predatory intent. Damien's gaze is mocking, his purple eyes filled with disdain for the girl, standing her ground. Tanya's hands may be shaking, but her eyes burn with a mixture of fear and the determination to protect her home from the intruder. A close-up reveals the intensity of her grip on the wooden hilt, the silver blade of the kitchen knife, etched with unique runic symbols. She looks down at the weapon, her face hardening as she prepares for the worst-case scenario. Damien erupts into malicious laughter, gesturing dramatically as he taunts her. Weak constitution and trembling hands. Beside him, Ironback bares its sharp fangs, its glowing blue eyes fixed on Tanya as it prepares to pounce. Backed against the wall, Tanya holds the knife with both hands, her worry growing as the space between them shrinks. Damien's smirk suddenly vanishes, replaced by a cold, predatory glare that signals the end of his time. Damien's eyes narrow as he stares her down, his expression flattening into one of pure cruelty. He points a mocking finger at the cowering girl, making it clear that her resistance is nothing more than a joke to him. The intensity in Damien's purple eyes is piercing, reflecting a complete lack of mercy. Tanya's hands tremble even more, the weight of the engraved knife becoming heavy as the pressure of the encounter reaches its peak. Tanya looks up with a pleading, desperate expression, hoping to end the confrontation without violence. But Damien suddenly lunges forward, his mouth open in an alarmed shout as something unexpected disrupts the scene. Ironback leaps through the air, pinning Tanya to the floor under its heavy metallic frame. She grits her teeth, struggling with every ounce of her strength to keep the wolf's snapping jaws away from her face while the beast growls over. Damien stands by the window, a bead of sweat on his face as he smiles, confidently, and raises his hand to finish his plan. However, his confidence quickly turns to pure rage, his face twisting into a shout of frustration at the sudden interruption. Out of nowhere, the small orange dragon Leo appears, letting out a fierce roar right in Damien's face. The impact is immediate, sending Damien flying backward, with his arms flailing as he screams in shock. Damien crashes violently into the apartment wall, the plaster cracking under the force of the blow. Leo stands proudly in the middle of the room, his hands on his hips and a confident smirk on his face, while his tail flame flickers with power. Leo's large orange eyes are filled with a fierce determination, signaling that he is more than ready for a fight. Damien slowly drags himself up, clutching his chest in pain, his hair disheveled and his expression one of utter disbelief. Gritting his teeth in a fit of anger and frustration, Damien points toward the little dragon, his face smudged with dirt. He screams a command to his beast, ordering Ironback to tear the small intruder apart. Ironback responds with a terrifying roar that echoes through the living room, ready to strike its target. Leo remains standing on the rug, undeterred even as he faces the massive spiked collar of the menacing armored wolf. Leo narrows his eyes, focusing his energy as he prepares his counterattack. He opens his mouth wide, and a powerful surge of crackling blue lightning begins to manifest from deep within. A massive column of electric energy engulfs Leo as a bolt of blue lightning strikes from within him. Ironback braces itself against the onslaught, the brilliant blue light reflecting off its heavy metallic armor as it tries to withstand the power. The wolf's claws dig deep into the wooden floorboards as the sheer force of the lightning pushes it back. The struggle ends abruptly as Ironback is sent, crashing through the wooden apartment door, the frame shattering into splinters. Damien shouts in disbelief, his eyes wide with panic as he realizes his beast has been completely overpowered. He watches through the broken doorway as Ironback is thrown down the hallway outside, defeated by a single strike. Leo doesn't stop there, forming a glowing sphere of blue energy within his open mouth. The sphere expands rapidly, surrounded by intense, crackling electricity that illuminates the entire room. The expanding energy hits Ironback once more, fully illuminating the wolf's body in a blinding blue light. Once the smoke clears, Leo giggles adorably, covering his tiny claws over his mouth in delight at his own successful attack. Damien's face is a mask of grim frustration as he realizes he has lost the upper hand. Without another word, he quickly leaps out of the apartment window to escape, his dark coat fluttering behind him as he makes a desperate exit. Tanya looks down with a solemn, emotional expression, the weight of the ordeal finally sinking in. The front door bursts open and Bianca runs into the room, immediately wrapping her arms around her sister in a warm, desperate embrace. Tanya hugs her sister back, gently patting Bianca's silver-white hair to comfort her. Bianca cries tears of pure relief, resting her head on Tanya's shoulder as the fear of the day finally begins to wash away. Looking down with a mixture of sadness and relief, Tanya whispers comforting words to the younger girl. The danger has passed, and she can finally breathe again, now that they are reunited. Leo stands on the rug, watching the emotional reunion with a content and happy expression. The sunlit living room is filled with the warmth of the sisters, hugging tightly, their bond clearly unshakable. Leo stands proudly with his hands on his hips, his tail flame burning brightly as he basks in his victory. Tanya looks over at him, her eyes wide with awe at the incredible power hidden within such a small dragon. Tanya offers a gentle, curious smile toward their new protector. Bianca looks up, with a sweet, confident expression, her ruby-red eyes sparkling with pride for her partner and their future. Bianca pulls out a glowing green prize bottle, explaining the power of the evergreen jade elixir to her sister. Tanya holds a hand to her mouth in utter surprise, staring at the magical bottle and the hope it represents for them. Leo stands on the rug with a smug, happy smile, enjoying the well-deserved praise. Tanya gently reaches down and picks up the little orange dragon, cradling him carefully in her hands. She holds Leo close to her chest, looking down at him with a warm and loving smile. Leo looks up at her as she affectionately pets his head, his tiny heart melting at the gentle and sincere gesture. Tanya's smile radiates warmth as she continues to show him affection. Leo closes, his eyes happily, leaning into her hand as he experiences the soft touch of her gratitude for. Against a soft pink background, Leo's cute face is highlighted, his orange eyes sparkling with pure cheerfulness. He feels a sense of belonging and warmth he hadn't expected to find so quickly. As he enjoys the moment, a vision of a majestic, silver-scaled dragon roaring amidst a dark storm briefly flashes before him. It is a glimpse of the powerful, fierce being he is destined to become. Tanya continues to cradle Leo warmly, her long black hair framing a face filled with love. She looks down at the little dragon, seeing him not just as a beast, but as a vital protector of their small. Her voice is gentle as she talks to him, her expression beautiful and calm. Leo sits comfortably in her lap, looking completely content and happy to be the center of her attention. Tanya nuzzles Leo against her cheek, smiling at the soft texture of his scales. Leo lies down on his stomach, looking sleepy and deeply satisfied by the safety and warmth of the sisters' home. In a comically dramatic moment, Leo imagines himself under a single spotlight, crying out in a fit of overwhelmed emotion. Tanya just cradles him more gently, her eyes filled with deep affection for the little dragon. Tanya continues to smile as she speaks to Bianca, expressing her relief and gratitude. Bianca looks up, her face filled with surprise and joy at her sister's heartfelt words and their new path forward. As the focus shifts, the scene moves to a luxurious penthouse overlooking a lake. Inside, an elite young tamer named Vincent sits in an armchair, while an older butler in a dark gray suit stands respectfully by his side. Vincent looks serious and stern, his gray jacket and silver armor catching the light. Beside him, the butler looks deeply concerned, his face tense as he delivers news about Vanessa's disappearance. The butler wipes sweat from his forehead, clearly intimidated by the young master's cold presence. Vincent's sharp red eyes narrow in suspicion as he listens, his gaze becoming focused and dangerous. The butler speaks with a pleading, desperate expression, explaining the events of the secret realm. He gestures toward the view outside while detailing the connection between Bianca and the missing Vanessa. Vincent's anger boils over, and he slams his armored fist onto the sofa cushion with a loud thud. The butler bows his head slightly, looking deeply stressed as he faces the young tamer's rising fury. Despite the tension, the butler continues to speak nervously, his high-collared suit displaying a golden crest. Vincent keeps his back turned, his silence and the intensity of his stance signaling a brewing storm. Vincent eventually sits back, staring silently at the butler with eyes filled with cold intensity. The air in the luxurious room grows heavy with the weight of his unspoken plans for revenge. He begins to speak firmly, his voice laced with an angry glare as he confronts the butler face to face. He stands up, his presence dominating the office room, as he demands that Bianca be made to pay. Vincent gestures with determination, laying out his strategy to intercept the girl. The butler's hands tremble at his sides, his fear of the young master's temper evident in every line of his posture. Submitting to the pressure, the butler furrows his brow in submission and bows deeply to Vincent. The young master sits back down calmly on the sofa, satisfied that he has found a way to target his sister's rival. The butler looks up with a pleading expression, confirming the details of the plot. Vincent's mouth curves into a confident, smug smirk as he hears that a member of the Vance family will be overseeing the next exam. Vincent sits comfortably on the couch, his authoritative presence filling the space beneath the massive crystal chandelier. He looks relaxed, having decided to use Valerie Vance to ensure Bianca's downfall. Near the large window overlooking the mountains, the butler remains bowed in a show of respect. However, his expression suddenly shifts to one of extreme shock, his eyes wide as he realizes the scale of Vincent's ambition. The butler gasps in panic, his mouth open in shock as the final details are discussed. He stands in the lavish room, sweating and tense, as Vincent prepares to unleash a new challenge upon Bianca and Leo. The old butler looks down anxiously, his face etched with worry as he pleads with his young master. Opposite him, Vincent stands in a sharp profile, a confident smirk playing on his lips while his narrow red eyes glint with a dangerous intent. Vincent sits back on a beige sofa, looking relaxed and smug within the confines of his luxurious penthouse that overlooks the vast ocean. His expression quickly shifts into a furious scowl, and he raises his hand aggressively, issuing a strict warning that leaves no room for failure. The butler watches in shock, his mouth hanging slightly open as he processes Vincent's cold demands. Vincent remains composed and serious in profile, while the butler stands before him with a distressed expression, clearly overwhelmed by the weight of the situation. A brief, light-hearted vision of Valerie appears, showing her in a chibi style, with pink hair and sunglasses, casually holding a massive lollipop over her shoulder. Back in the reality of the penthouse, the butler is far from amused, sweat dripping from his face as he contemplates the chaos such a person could bring. Anxious to explain the risks, the butler gestures wildly, trying to make Vincent understand the gravity of involving Valerie. Vincent stands tall and unimpressed, in his gray uniform, his gaze unwavering as a close-up captures the beads of sweat on the butler's wrinkled forehead. A wide shot captures the opulence of the room as the butler stands near the glass balcony windows, dwarfed by the luxury surrounding him. Vincent steps forward and places a firm, black-gloved hand on the butler's shoulder, his eyes narrowing with an intense, threatening focus. Standing inches away from the butler, Vincent's red eyes burn with a mixture of determination and menace. The butler sweats profusely, unable to look away as Vincent speaks directly to him, making it clear that his sister's death must be avenged. The butler looks completely defeated, his shoulders slumped and his expression heavy with worry. Vincent walks away without another word, leaving the butler to bow deeply in the center of the grand hall, shivering under the pressure. Vincent approaches the large balcony windows, staring out at the sunny sky with a cold, calculating gaze. Suddenly, a dramatic close-up reveals his hidden rage, as a black-gloved fist punches a cracked hole directly into the plaster wall of the penthouse. The scene shifts to a much warmer atmosphere as Bianca stands in a cozy, tiled bathroom, smiling gently while she cradles little Leo in her arms. Her braided, silver-white ponytail drapes over her red sweater as she enjoys a quiet moment with her companion. Leo smiles happily with his eyes closed, basking in the attention after his refreshing bath. Tanya stands nearby in her white floral robe, opening her arms wide with a joyful smile to welcome the little dragon into the room. Tanya's delicate hands are open in a welcoming gesture, reflecting her soft nature. Bianca and Tanya stand together in the room, talking and laughing as the tension from the day finally begins. Bianca looks slightly surprised, her mouth open in mid-speech as they discuss Leo's new strength. Tanya smiles back at her with a warm, confident expression, clearly proud of how far Bianca has come as a tamer. Tanya laughs cheerfully, looking incredibly happy and relaxed in the safety of their home. A wide shot of the sunlit living room shows the two sisters conversing near the couch, the morning light filling the space with a sense of peace. The sisters sit together on the sofa, both gently petting Leo, who sits between them, looking very pleased with himself. A close-up shows their hands stroking Leo's head as the flame on his tail flickers contentedly. Bianca reaches into her bag to reveal the rewards from the exam, pulling out a collection of glowing, colorful taming candy spheres. She pours the red, green, purple, and yellow mana fruits onto the wooden coffee table, much to Leo's delight. Leo peeks over the edge of the coffee table, his eyes wide with excitement at the feast before him. A close-up shows him chewing happily on one of the colorful candies, his bell collar jingling as he devours the high-value treats. A golden dragon-bordered system screen pops up, displaying a massive gain of 8,000 evolution points. Leo looks absolutely delighted, his eyes wide and mouth open in a happy laugh, as he realizes just how much these candies are, boosting his power. Leo continues to chew happily, crumbs visible on his cheek as the evolution process begins. Inside his mind, a vision of his future self appears, a powerful purple and blue dragon, roaring amidst crackling purple lightning. The evolved lightning dragon breathes a devastating beam of bright blue energy, showcasing the true potential of his skills. The majestic creature then spreads, its purple wings against a blue sky, soaring high above the clouds. A close-up focuses on the glowing blue lightning dragon, its eyes shining with white-blue energy. In profile, the dragon snarls, surrounded by crackling electricity that pulses with the sheer force of its upgraded elements. The lightning dragon flies across a vast, dark field under a twilight sky, zeroing in on its target. A massive explosion of blue lightning and energy erupts on impact, demonstrating the catastrophic power of the Thunder Tempest. Blast. An extreme close-up returns to Leo's cute, wide-eyed face as he looks up from his meal. He stands on the floor, gazing affectionately at Tanya, who watches him with a warm and loving smile. Tanya holds her hand to her mouth in surprise and awe at Leo's rapid growth. Bianca looks equally surprised, brushing a strand of white hair from her forehead as she contemplates the incredible evolution points Leo is accumulating. The sisters sit back on the sofa, with Bianca cradling Leo once again. She uses a white cloth to gently wipe Leo's cheek, smiling affectionately at the little glutton who has just gained 50,000 evolution points. The golden dragon-bordered system screen appears again, confirming a further 500 evolution points. Within a dark panel, a golden-red dragon design begins to glow, signaling the evolution of his Draconic Core. A glowing white dragon construct shines brightly within a blue-lit archway, representing the core's new form. A swirling vortex of blue and purple cosmic energy crackles on screen, marking the birth of the lightning Draconic Core. In a symbolic display, a blue dragon and a red dragon face-off, breathing energy, beams into a central vortex under a starry sky. Leo looks incredibly thrilled, his mouth open and claws held up in excitement against a playful pink background. Bianca smiles as she continues to wipe Leo's face with a tissue, caring for him like a mother would. Leo is in a state of pure bliss, looking extremely happy and laughing with his mouth wide open. Bianca gently pets Leo on the head as he settles beside her on the sofa. Suddenly, the silence is broken as a smartphone on the coffee table lights up, with an incoming video call at exactly 17:40. Bianca looks at the phone with a surprised and curious expression, wondering who would be calling from the academy. A translucent blue holographic projection of Fiona, the AI assistant, appears in front of her, accompanied by official text. Tanya and Bianca watch as the life-sized holographic projection of Fiona stands in their living room. The glowing blue figure speaks professionally, announcing the upcoming freshman examination at Grand Imperial Academy. Fiona displays images of the rewards, showing a frozen blue crystal fruit and 3 ancient elemental spellbooks. These legendary items, the books of lightning, fire, and ice, are the prizes for the top-ranking candidates. Bianca holds her phone, which still displays Fiona's profile within the taming application. Leo stands next to her leg, looking up in absolute shock with his mouth wide open at the mention of more food and skill books. An extreme close-up highlights Leo's shocked, wide-eyed face as the weight of the rewards sinks in. He taps Bianca's leg eagerly, pointing at the phone and chirping in surprise, already impatient to leave. Leo looks proud and smiles, his tail flame flaring up with newfound ambition. Tanya and Bianca hold hands and smile at each other, agreeing that it is time to head to the capital for the next chapter of their journey. Tanya's red eyes look focused and determined as she prepares for the trip. Bianca, carrying Leo on her shoulder, walks alongside her sister, who has changed into an elegant, form-fitting black kippah with gold embroidery. The two walk through the grand, ornate gate of the academy, joining the crowd of other students. As they stroll down a tree-lined campus path, a glowing orange, lion-like magical beast with a fiery mane passes them by. A beautiful, translucent blue ice stag strides past Bianca and Tanya, leaving a trail of sparkling crystals in its wake. Leo peeks past Bianca's silver braid, his orange eyes shining with excitement at all the powerful beasts surrounding them. Bianca smiles gently down at Leo, who is perched happily on her shoulder as they take in the sights. Leo looks around the lively campus with curiosity, marveling at the scale of the Grand Imperial Academy. Nearby, a male student acting as a host holds a megaphone, standing next to a food tent with a banner for a Big Eater challenge. Bianca looks over with curiosity, and Leo is equally intrigued by the prospect of a competition. A comical vision shows Leo surrounded by drumsticks and cake, floating amidst cartoon stars. The host continues to announce the contest through his megaphone, standing in front of a giant pyramid of red raw meat blocks. The host calls out enthusiastically, drawing in a crowd of curious students. A wider angle shows the host promoting the challenge on campus while Bianca stands to the right, watching the spectacle unfold. A close-up shows the host's determined eyes as he speaks into the megaphone, promising a stardust necklace to the winner. A crowd of students in uniforms look on with excited and surprised expressions, tempted by the prize. An arrogant elite student with a red streak in his hair smiles confidently while talking to nearby girls. He gestures smoothly as he brags about his potential, looking very self-satisfied with his own abilities. A female student with dark wavy hair looks impressed by the elite student's claims. Nearby, two other students, one with a shaved undercut and one with glasses, look on with serious and skeptical expression. The student with the undercut speaks up, looking slightly annoyed by the blatant trap of the challenge. A group of students in blue and white uniforms stand together, discussing the risks of overfeeding their beasts. A blonde male student looks shocked and begins to sweat as he recalls the failures of previous years. He calls out in surprise, attracting the attention of everyone in the courtyard as he warns about the cost of failure. The host rests his hand on his chin, smirking confidently as he waits for a challenger to step forward. Bianca stands in front of the crowd with Leo on her shoulder, becoming the center of attention as she approaches the tent. An extreme close-up highlights Leo's sparkling eyes, which are glowing with excitement at the mountain of meat. He looks up at Bianca with a big, pleading smile, practically begging her to let him participate. Bianca looks slightly flustered, surprised by just how eager Leo is to eat. Leo stands on his hind legs, pumping his small fists confidently to show her that he can easily handle 666 kilograms of meat. Bianca sighs, looking a bit helpless, but clearly fond of her companion's spirit. A student with curly gray hair, who is helping with the registrations, stands opposite Bianca as she prepares to sign up. A massive brown volcanic rock bear with stone armor on its shoulders stands tall, under the clear sky, representing the competition. Bianca remains calm with Leo on her shoulder as she faces the bear. The curly gray-haired student looks completely shocked, his mouth wide open at the sight of the tiny fire lizard. Bianca merely closes her eyes and smiles, gently, undeterred by the size of the other competitor. In a brief flashback to their arrival, Bianca and Tanya walk past the orange fire lion beast on campus. They continue their stroll as the translucent blue ice deer beast passes by them. A close-up shows Leo peeking over Bianca's head, looking adorable and innocent. Bianca smiles happily as they walk through the trees, carrying Leo on her shoulder toward the challenge. Leo smiles cheerfully next to Bianca's braid, his mind already on the food. The host of the Big Eater Challenge continues his loud announcement, pointing toward the massive plate of raw meat. Bianca and Leo look toward the food stall with curious and excited faces. A comical cartoon vision reappears, showing Leo dreaming about cake and chicken, drumsticks against a pink star-patterned background. The host holds up his megaphone, gesturing to the impressive pyramid of sliced meat. He calls out to the gathering crowd, inviting any brave challengers to step up and try their luck for the free meat. The host continues his loud promotion as Bianca and the other students gather around the tent. A final close-up shows him calling out enthusiastically, while the students in the background watch with bated breath to see if the little lizard will actually compete. The host of the Big Eater Challenge grips his silver megaphone, his voice booming with enthusiasm as he calls out to the passing campus crowd. Below, a group of students in their high school uniforms gather around the food tent, their faces filled with curiosity and surprise as they witness the spectacle. An arrogant student with vibrant red hair smiles smugly, chatting with confidence to those nearby. He gestures toward himself boastfully, looking highly self-satisfied as he assumes the challenge will be a breeze for someone of his stature. A group of students listens to his bragging, including a dark-haired girl who looks genuinely excited by the stakes. However, a student with a shaved undercut and another wearing glasses watch from the sidelines, their expressions filled with skepticism as they observe the red-haired boy's confidence. The student with the undercut looks worried, clad in his ornate blue and white academy uniform. Beside him, a blonde student in a matching taming uniform clenches his fist in frustration, sensing the hidden difficulty of the task at hand. Sweat beads on the blonde student's forehead as he begins to look alarmed. He suddenly yells out in surprise, drawing the attention of other students walking along the tree-lined campus path to the unfolding drama at the food stall. The host's face turns serious and focused as he prepares to oversee the next phase of the challenge. Meanwhile, Bianca stands calmly in her red sweater, holding little Leo on her arm, while the surrounding students watch them with expressions of total surprise. Leo's eyes begin to sparkle with golden, star-like light as he stares eagerly at the mountain of food. He gestures happily toward the table, looking up at Bianca, with pure, unadulterated excitement for the feast ahead. Bianca looks slightly taken aback, sweat dropping at Leo's intense enthusiasm. Undeterred, Leo hops down and stands on his hind legs on the stone pavement, proudly puffing out his chest, while the flame on his tail burns with a bright, intense light. With a helpless but fond smile, Bianca sighs and walks toward the registration counter. She approaches the gray-haired student in the blue taming coat, still holding Leo as she prepares to enter him into the daunting challenge. A massive volcanic rock bear towers over the area, its dark fur reinforced by heavy rock armor plates. Bianca remains completely unfazed by the giant beast's presence, standing calmly with Leo as they prepare to face the competition. The gray-haired student's jaw drops in utter shock as he stares at the tiny lizard entering the fray. Bianca simply closes her eyes and sighs softly, ignoring the disbelief radiating from the registration assistant. Nearby, the double-headed wolf, a formidable magical beast with a red mane and glowing eyes, lies sick on the floor, foaming at the mouth from overexertion. The host doesn't miss a beat, using his megaphone to call out to the crowd and announce the wolf's failure. The red-haired student facepalms with his white-gloved hand, looking deeply stressed and sweating as his expectations are crushed. He sighs in frustration, keeping his hand over his face to hide his embarrassment from the onlooker. The red-haired student stands in a state of despair while other students watch with concern. Meanwhile, the volcanic rock bear reaches its large claw toward the pyramid of raw meat blocks on the table, letting out a low growl of determination. The bear focuses intently, its yellow eyes wide with the desire to win. It takes a massive bite of the raw meat, chewing with a serious expression as it tries to power through the massive challenge. In a chibi-style illustration, the gray-haired student appears tall and spindly. He folds his arms and flashes a smug, proud smile while talking to someone, off-screen about his beast's inevitable victory. He continues to boast to another student about the bear's prowess. The host, meanwhile, is caught up in the excitement, his cheeks flushed as he screams into his megaphone to keep the energy of the crowd high. With a confident smirk, the host addresses the crowd, gesturing cheerfully as he speaks. He seems certain that the challenge will continue to go as planned, bringing in more participants for the spectacle. The volcanic rock bear swallows a large chunk of meat, standing proudly to show off the heavy rocky armor plates covering its back. It seems to be performing well, maintaining its composure under the host's watchful eye. The bear looks confident as it growls softly, but the situation changes. Instantly, it suddenly sits down on the ground, its stomach massively bloated and pulsing with glowing gold energy veins that signal it has reached its limit. The massive beast eventually rolls onto its back, completely passed out and defeated with its tongue sticking out. The host screams in utter shock into his megaphone, sweat pouring down his face at the unexpected turn of events. Panic sets in as the host shouts in disbelief, clutching his megaphone while sweat drips from his chin. He continues to yell, unable to comprehend how even the powerful rock bear could fail so spectacularly. The gray-haired student is reduced to tears, gritting his teeth in frustration and despair. He weeps openly, looking completely defeated by his beast's failure to complete the task. A montage shows a variety of powerful beasts, including a white tiger, the double-headed wolf, and an armored rhino, all lying bloated and defeated on the ground. A lavender-haired tamer clenches his fist and cries out in despair at the sight of the failed challengers. The dark blue ponytail girl whispers behind her hand, looking amused by the carnage. Beside her, the red-haired student points forward, directing everyone's attention toward a new development at the table. The red-haired student's eyes turn serious as he watches the table, while the host looks on with a tensed and focused expression. The atmosphere in the tent shifts as the next challenger takes the stage. The host speaks firmly to the surrounding students, attempting to maintain order. He manages a confident smirk, trying to regain his self-assurance despite the mounting chaos of the However, the host's confidence shatters into shock as he watches little Leo sit happily at the table. In contrast to the host's wide-eyed panic, Leo is calmly chewing on a piece of raw red meat, his tail flame burning bright. Leo chews with a blissful expression, juices dripping from his mouth as he savors the high-grade meat. He happily licks his lips after devouring the piece, his tail wagging with pure satisfaction. The Golden Dragon System screen appears, notifying him of a massive gain of 43,100 evolution points. Leo looks incredibly smug and satisfied, a a confident smirk playing on his face as he enjoys the benefits of his meal. Leo smiles cheerfully with his mouth wide open, looking incredibly happy. In a chibi-style illustration against a pink background, he looks thoughtful, placing a claw on his chin as if considering his next. The host screams into his megaphone, sweating profusely as he witnesses Leo's bottomless appetite. Leo simply looks up innocently with his mouth open, as if asking why the host is making such a fuss. Leo flashes an adorable smile with flushed cheeks, seemingly unaware of the stir he is causing. The group of students watching can only stand in complete awe and astonishment at the small dragon's performance. The girl with the dark blue ponytail is frozen in shock, while the red-haired student looks completely flabbergasted, sweat dripping down his face. They can't believe the little lizard is outperforming the larger beast. The red-haired student gapes in shock as the host steps forward, looking extremely tensed and sweat-drenched. The host can only watch in silence as Leo continues to defy all logic with his appetite. Bianca and Tanya stand together, smiling with confidence as they feel a deep sense of pride in Leo's performance. The scene then transitions back to the dark background of the food tent, where the challenge continues. A white tiger beast drools as it looks longingly at the remaining meat, unable to eat another bite. Meanwhile, Leo stands confidently next to a giant slab of T-bone steak, crossing his arms like a true champion. The host gestures toward the table while addressing the crowd, though his expression has shifted. He rests his hand on his chin, looking thoughtful and slightly smug as he reassesses the situation. Leo looks down at the massive, passed-out volcanic rock bear with a look of superiority. He walks past the bloated, defeated beast on the floor, looking tiny compared to the bear, but clearly triumphant. In front of the red tent curtain, Leo looks up with wide, happy eyes. Nearby, the bloated rock bear remains on the ground with its tongue out, serving as a stark contrast to Leo's seemingly endless stomach. Leo stands next to a large pile of raw meat cubes, his feet surrounded by small flames. He smiles eagerly, looking at the mountain of food as if it's the best meal he's ever seen. In one massive gulp, Leo opens his mouth wide and inhales multiple chunks of meat. A student with short gray hair points a finger in disbelief, sweating as he watches the tiny lizard vacuum up the. With an empty mouth and a happy smile, Leo swallows the meat and moves on to an even larger slab of T-bone steak, ready to continue his feast without a moment's hesitation. The Golden Dragon System screen reappears to track his progress. Meanwhile, a close-up focuses on the volcanic rock bear's wide yellow eyes, which are filled with pure shock at Leo's performance. The gray-haired student points dramatically, shouting in sheer disbelief and screaming as he watches his record being shattered. His face is covered in sweat as he experiences total mental collapse. The student stands next to his slumped-over bear, looking utterly defeated. Leo, on the other hand, stands happily with a slightly round stomach, waving his arms cheerfully to celebrate his meal. Leo smiles warmly, looking very pleased with the feast he just enjoyed. He then looks up with a surprised expression, his mouth forming an O shape as he notices the host's extreme reaction. The host looks utterly horrified, screaming in despair as he realizes the cost of the free meal he promised. Tears of frustration stream down his face, and he looks deeply stressed by the impending financial ruin. The host falls to his knees, crying out loud as he faces the reality of his losses. The dark blue ponytail girl looks embarrassed for him, holding her face in her hands as she watches his dramatic breakdown. He continues to cry dramatically, while the surrounding students watch with a mix of amusement and pity. He wails with his head held high, looking comically devastated by the situation. The host's tears flow like rivers as he screams in despair. Leo looks at the man with a slightly confused expression, perhaps wondering why the human is so upset over some simple. Leo begins to look a bit worried and guilty, his tail flame flickering as he realizes he might have overdone it. The host continues to sob, desperately trying to wipe away his tears. In a chibi illustration against a dark purple background, the host is shown, crying giant streams of tears. He weeps dramatically, the weight of his financial failure fully setting in. Leo looks up with big, sympathetic eyes, feeling a bit bad for the host. A close-up focuses on the host's eye, which is brimming with tears as he wallows in his sadness. The host sniffles and cries in front of the other students, looking down in deep sadness. He seems completely broken by the outcome of his own challenge. Bianca looks down with a gentle and comforting expression. She stands opposite the kneeling host, who remains bowed in a posture of complete defeat on the campus grounds. Extending her hand, Bianca offers a golden necklace or coin as a gesture of comfort. The host looks up with tears in his eyes, deeply touched by the kindness she is showing him in his moment of. The wide courtyard comes into view as the host stands and talks to Bianca. She smiles warmly at him, and though tears are still in his eyes, his expression has turned into one of deep gratitude. Under the clear blue sky, Bianca smiles gently and confidently. She begins to walk down the stone stairs, with Leo happily resting on her shoulder after his massive meal. Leo smiles cheerfully from his perch, his tail flame burning brightly once again. He looks incredibly happy and adorable, satisfied with both the food and the outcome of the day. Leo flashes a smug smile on Bianca's shoulder, looking very proud of himself. The host can only look on in surprise, sweat dropping against a fast-paced blue background as they depart. The host calls out to Bianca, his expression determined as he watches them go. Leo turns around on her shoulder, looking back at the host with a curious and inquisitive expression. Bianca and the host have a final friendly conversation in the campus plaza while Leo sits on her shoulder. In a wider shot under the clear sky, Tanya stands with them, while the host explains something with raised hands, and the two sisters listen attentively to his words. The host of the Big Eater Challenge stands in total disbelief, sweat pouring down his face as his mouth hangs wide open. He waves his hands defensively, frantically explaining to Bianca that his shop is officially closed for good, while Leo rests triumphantly on her shoulder. A close-up captures the host's furious and frustrated expression as he continues to yell about his impending bankruptcy. Tanya and Bianca can't help but laugh at his overly dramatic reaction, while Leo watches from his perch with a satisfied, happy smile. Tanya smiles warmly at their small protector, reaching out her hand to gently stroke Leo's chin. Leo looks up with wide, happy eyes, clearly enjoying the affectionate attention after his massive feast. The sisters begin to walk away together, carrying Leo as Tanya pulls her suitcase toward the heart of the campus. They pass through the Grand Academy gates, where other students have gathered with their own majestic elemental, beasts, including a fire lion and a winged white creature. As they stroll along the campus path, Tanya points affectionately at Leo, who beams with happiness. She speaks to him in a gentle, caring tone, clearly impressed by the little dragon's recent display of appetite and power. Bianca eventually cradles Leo in her arms to let him rest, and he settles in, comfortably, closing his eyes in total content. A close-up shows him smiling, cheerfully, feeling safe and secure in her embrace. The two sisters share a serious but gentle conversation as the Grand Academy buildings loom in the background. Tanya smiles sweetly, likely discussing her plans to find work in the capital now that they've arrived at the academy. A wide shot shows the trio continuing their talk, with Leo still resting peacefully in Bianca's arms. He looks ahead with a content smile, enjoying the quiet moment before the true challenges of the academy begin. Bianca stands on the campus stairs, Leo now perched on her shoulder as she looks forward with a neutral expression. She checks her smartphone with a focused look, while Leo peeks over her shoulder to see what has happened. Her screen displays a glowing blue holographic projection of Fiona, the AI assistant, who is delivering an urgent message about the upcoming freshman exam. The hologram looks sideways with a mysterious smile, fading as the notification ends. Bianca looks up thoughtfully under the bright blue sky, contemplating the exam. Ahead, the Grand Plaza of the Imperial Academy is revealed in a high-angle shot, surrounded by neoclassical architecture and lush greenery. Nearby, the elite student with the red-streaked hair leans against a stone wall, looking stressed as he checks his phone. He appears deeply concerned, sweat dripping from his temple as he makes an urgent call regarding the challenge. Loss. He continues the tense conversation, likely reporting the incident to his superior. Meanwhile, in a spacious office, Valerie Vance sits comfortably in her chair, holding a phone to her ear while her purple-eyed cat, Luna, rests on her lap. Valerie looks relaxed and confident, casually enjoying a pink lollipop while she speaks. In a sudden contrast, Leo is shown looking shocked and alarmed, as if sensing the brewing trouble. The elite student pleads over the phone, his face twisted in stress. Valerie's relaxed demeanor breaks for a moment, her eyes widening in shock as she hears the details of the little fire lizard that ruined her store's profit. She stands up behind her desk, looking serious as she processes the news. Her frustration boils over, and she yells angrily into the phone, her eyes wide with fury, at the thought of her private savings being drained. The student on the other end looks completely defeated, listening to her rant, with a sweating, anxious expression. He runs a hand through his hair in deep frustration, speaking quickly and nervously as he tries to explain how 200,000 mana stones were lost in a single sitting. Back in the office, Valerie cries out in stress, clutching her phone tightly, while Luna sits calmly beside her, indifferent to her owner's outburst. The student looks up with a sad, defeated expression, feeling the weight of the situation as he listens to Valerie's intense reaction. Valerie eventually regains her smug confidence, smiling as she continues the call. She sits back at her desk with Luna, seemingly formulating a plan to get her money back with interest. Her expression shifts back to one of annoyance as the call continues, the bright window of her office framing her growing irritation with her incompetence. The student leans against a pillar, looking anxious and sad, while Valerie's voice explodes on the other side, her face flushed with rage. She continues to yell furiously, leaving the red-eyed student tensed and sweating in fear of what she might do next. Valerie settles back and looks down at her phone, which displays a picture of Leo from a social media. She looks surprised and intrigued by the photo, her mouth curving into a mischievous, smug grin as she realizes this is the same beast Vincent wanted eliminated. Valerie speaks with a determined look before the scene shifts to the campus plaza, where a large crowd of students has gathered near a glowing blue portal. The red-haired student stands proudly next to Valerie, who is still eating her lollipop. He looks incredibly excited, shouting to the crowd as he prepares to confront Bianca. A group of students in red and white uniforms stand together, centered around a beautiful brown-haired girl. Bianca stands among them, looking proud in her formal academy blazer while holding Leo. The crowd watches as the red-haired boy points excitedly toward Bianca, though his expression quickly turns worried and he begins to sweat as she ignores his taunt. An undercut student looks on in shock while a girl with a dark blue ponytail smiles happily, enjoying the growing tension in the plaza. Valerie and the red-haired student stand together confidently, while Leo, held by Bianca, waves a tiny claw with an adorable mocking smile. Bianca looks smug and confident, facing off against the red-haired student, who stands with his hand on his hip, trying to look imposing. Leo starts off smiling, but his expression suddenly shifts, his eyes narrowing, with a fierce determination as he senses the student's hostility. Bianca remains serious and slightly tense, as she and the student stand opposite each other on the stone plaza, ready for a formal confrontation. The student smirks at them, causing Leo to grit his teeth in anger at being called F-rank trash. Bianca stands tall against the blue sky, while the red-haired student continues to speak with an arrogant smirk, mocking her for bringing a lizard to an academy. He begins to laugh heartily, looking extremely pleased with himself as he boasts about the superiority of his own beast. Bianca remains unimpressed, while a chibi vision shows Leo looking happy in front of a barrel of rice, completely unbothered by the insult. Bianca's brow furrows in annoyance as the student gestures loudly, boasting, under the open sky, and gathering an even larger audience. She looks down thoughtfully, sweating slightly as she cradles Leo close to her chest, considering the best way to handle this loud-mouthed. Leo's eyes begin to glow red with anger, and Bianca stands tall, officially accepting the challenge to prove Leo's. Both combatants look focused. Leo is determined to protect Bianca's honor, while the student maintains his confident, annoying smirk. The red-haired student smiles proudly as he prepares to summon his beast, catching Leo slightly by surprise with the sudden surge of. Leo stands on his hind legs, looking curious, as Bianca stands before a giant stone wall carved with golden runes, serving as the backdrop for their duel. The student raises a black-gloved hand, seriously summoning his contract beast, with a flare of energy. A chibi visualization shows him posing confidently before he points forward, dramatically on the campus grounds. A massive gray-armored rhino manifests behind him, its golden horn glowing with power. The student pats the giant beast, looking incredibly proud of its immense size. The rhino's orange eyes glare fiercely, its horn burning with flames as it stands ready in its gold-trimmed armor, towering over little Leo. Watching from the side, the undercut student looks worried for Bianca, and Tanya covers her face in embarrassment or concern for her sister's situation. The armored rhino charges aggressively, but suddenly a massive circular hole opens in the pavement, glowing with volcanic fire from Leo's hidden power. The rhino stops in its tracks, startled as the fiery hole turns into a dark, bottomless pit in the shattered stone ground. The student is completely stunned, sweat dropping as he realizes Leo has somehow moved at lightning speed and is now standing right behind him. He turns in shock to see Leo standing there grinning, and in a blur of lightning speed, the small dragon darts forward. The student's eyes widen with sheer terror as Leo leaps into the air directly in front of him, closing the distance in an instant. With a determined face, Leo leaps gracefully through the air, preparing to land, a decisive blow on the arrogant tamer. The red-haired student is sent crashing to the ground, defeated and dizzy. Leo stands triumphantly on his chest, smiling proudly at his victory. Leo growls cutely at the bruised tamer, while Bianca covers her mouth in total embarrassment and shock at how aggressively Leo handled the situation. Leo remains on the student's chest, proudly raising his arm in victory while the tamer groans in pain beneath him. The defeated tamer passes out from the bruises, leaving Leo to smile down at him one last time. Leo walks away proudly across the stone plaza to return to Bianca, leaving the red streak student behind in a state of absolute disbelief and shock. An elite student of the Grand Imperial Academy, his spiky red hair matching his fiery temper, shouts in a fit of rage. Behind him, his formidable contract. Beast, a massive dark gray armored rhino plated in gold, stands ready to charge, its molten gold horn glowing with lethal intent. The armored beast lunges forward, eyes burning yellow with aggression as it tears across the academy courtyard. Despite the incoming mountain of muscle, Leo, the small orange fire lizard, simply looks up with a smug, unbothered expression, showing absolutely no fear toward the massive creature. With a motion almost too fast to see, Leo's tiny hand gently taps the snout of the charging giant. The impact is catastrophic. The colossal rhinoceros is sent, spinning into the air before crashing onto its back, defeated, while its arrogant master is left sprawled unconscious beside it on the white stone tiles. A wave of shock ripples through the gathered students as they stare at the scene, in utter disbelief. One blue-haired girl gasps dramatically, clutching her face, in amazement as sweat drips down her cheek, unable to comprehend how a top-tier beast was swatted away like a fly. Leo walks away from the wreckage with a confident stride, his tail flame, flickering as his gold bell jingles rhythmically. He looks back over his shoulder with a mischievous smirk, clearly enjoying the effortless victory he just secured. While spectators whisper in hushed tones near a shimmering blue portal, the red-haired elite finally begins to stir. Kneeling on the ground with two prominent black eyes, he grits his teeth and trembles in pure humiliation, the weight of his defeat sinking in. Leo presents a stark contrast to the destruction behind him, looking forward with a bright, innocent smile that belies his true power. He cups his ear with a tiny claw, teasingly asking the fallen student if he has anything else to say. Hopping onto the chest of his defeated opponent, Leo poses victoriously while the student looks up in a blind, purple-bruised rage. Driven to desperation, the elite student finally screams his submission, his pride shattered as he begs for the lizard to stop. The tension breaks as the crowd bursts into mocking laughter, ridiculing the arrogant candidate's swift downfall. A handsome student with light purple hair points and laughs the loudest, relishing the fall of someone who was acting so high and mighty just moments ago. Valerie stands before a massive, swirling blue portal, her arms crossed as she maintains a calm, elite composure. Her striking purple-pink eyes narrow as she observes Leo, silently noting that this lizard is far more dangerous than he looks. The atmosphere shifts as the beautiful Grand Imperial representative raises her hand, calling for silence. The laughter dies down instantly as the students turn their respect toward the teacher, who is ready to begin the formal proceeding. Bianca, her silver-white hair catching the light, stands over the defeated student before Leo hops up to his favorite spot on her shoulder. Perched, comfortably, the lizard looks extremely pleased with himself as Bianca prepares to move on. With a gentle smile, Bianca walks away from the scene with Leo in tow, leaving the humiliated student in their wake. The Grand Imperial representative watches them leave, a subtle, knowing smile playing on her lips as she recognizes their potential. The representative turns her attention back to the remaining candidates, gesturing toward the future. Behind her back, the red-haired student glares with pure malice, a dark purple aura of resentment swirling around him as he vows to get revenge during the trial. The bruised student grits his teeth in silent fury while the representative stands before the swirling portal. She begins to outline the rules for the upcoming assessment, her voice commanding the full attention of every nervous freshman. Floating near the academy gates, golden characters illuminate the sky, marking the entrance to the Stardust secret realm. The representative looks over her shoulder with a graceful expression, signaling that the true challenge is about to begin. Pointing toward the portal, the teacher explains that their primary goal is to collect Stardust crystals. A holographic display reveals one of the sparkling blue prizes, a resource vital for crafting high-level elixirs and nurturing beasts. The representative lists the rewards for the top 10 performers, showing off high-tier items like the glowing ice draconic fruit and the ancient thunder dragon manual. These treasures represent the pinnacle of what a young tamer could hope to achieve. Leo's eyes turn into sparkling gold stars as he listens, his tail flickering with excitement at the thought of such valuable prizes. The surrounding students cheer enthusiastically, their competitive spirits ignited by the promise of rare rewards. The teacher explains that these crystals also serve as currency for the Academy's treasure catalog, revealing a holographic screen featuring the legendary 3-life stone. This trial serves as a rare free benefit for the new students before future entry fees are imposed. The students are left in awe of the Academy's generosity, their faces filled with renewed determination. One young student with messy black hair looks on with wide eyes, already imagining the treasures he might claim. The purple-haired student pumps his fist, fired up for the challenge ahead, while Bianca remains composed. She looks down at Leo, smiling confidently, as they prepare to face whatever secrets the realm holds together. Leo looks up at Bianca, chatting cutely, and wondering if the stardust crystals are edible. Bianca can't help but giggle, playfully tapping his head and calling him a little foodie as they stand at the threshold of the portal. The Grand Imperial representative's expression turns stern as she delivers a final, sobering warning. The secret realm is a place of great danger, and survival is not guaranteed for the careless. 4 elite candidates, including Valerie and several high-ranking boys, stand ready as the vanguard. With a sweeping gesture of her arm, the representative grants the students permission to enter the shimmering vortex. The freshmen begin to file through the glowing blue energy of the portal. Valerie walks in casually, unwrapping a colorful lollipop as Leo and Bianca follow closely behind her into the unknown. As she places the sweet lollipop in her mouth, Valerie's expression shifts into a sinister, mischievous smirk. She isn't just here for the crystals. She has a hidden agenda and a score to settle with the little orange lizard. With one last cunning gaze back at the group, Valerie disappears into the swirling blue energy. She steps fully into the portal, eager to put her dark plans into motion within the confines of the secret realm. They emerge into the Stardust secret realm under a crimson evening sky filled with shooting stars and purple nebulas. Now dressed in an elegant ceremonial gown, Bianca cradles Leo lovingly as they take in the breathtaking, otherworldly landscape. The terrain is dominated by towering, dark-capped mushrooms that glow under the red twilight. A bit overwhelmed by the strange environment, a chibi-style Bianca looks around with a confused expression, trying to find her bearings. Bianca scans the forest of giant fungi, her ruby eyes narrowing with caution. The air is thick with mystery, and the red-tinted environment feels as though it's watching their every move. Sensing a path forward, Bianca points toward a distant target while holding Leo tight. The lizard's eyes sparkle like stars, his predatory instincts replaced by the sheer thrill of a new adventure. Leo's fiery tail wiggles with excitement as he jumps from Bianca's arms and dashes ahead. Bianca watches him go with a warm smile, following him deeper into the dark valley of glowing mushrooms. As they venture further under the massive mushroom caps, the flora begins to stir. A patch of glowing blue mushrooms suddenly develops faces, revealing themselves as fluorescent mushroom demons blocking their path. Leo doesn't hesitate, puffing out his round belly and baring his sharp little teeth. He opens his mouth wide, eyes narrowing with a fierce determination to protect his master and fill his. An explosion of yellow flames and crackling purple lightning erupts, consuming the mushroom monsters instantly. A system notification flashes in the air, confirming that Leo has devoured 3 demons and gained 8,000 evolution points. Leo licks his lips in satisfaction after his quick snack, while Bianca discovers their first prize. She holds up a sparkling blue stardust crystal, her face lighting up with success as the trial officially begins. Bianca moves gracefully through the glowing flora, her black-gloved hands carefully gathering more crystals scattered across the forest floor. The area is rich with resources, and they are off to an incredible start. Holding 2 sparkling crystals, Bianca smiles warmly at their progress. Leo looks back at her with a happy grin, even giving a literal thumbs up with his tiny clawed hand to celebrate their haul. The hunt continues as Bianca points out groups of wild beasts lurking in the shadows. Leo makes quick work of them, hilariously swallowing a dark-winged bat, beast whole, while its companion watches in absolute terror. Leo playfully bats at a spiked turtle beast with a flaming claw before chasing down a glowing white rabbit. While he treats the monsters like playthings, Bianca remains focused on collecting a growing pile of blue crystals. The Devouring Evolution System updates, showing a massive total of over 89,000 evolution points. Leo looks incredibly smug, basking in the glow of his successful feeding frenzy. Bianca looks down affectionately at her small, powerful companion before, stuffing her leather bag to the brim with stardust crystals. They have already collected nearly 200, far exceeding the expectations for typical, fresh. Resting a finger on her chin, Bianca pauses under the giant red mushrooms, deep in thought. Leo tilts his head curiously, wondering what has captured his master's attention in the quiet of the forest. Bianca gazes into the distance, her senses sharpening as she suggests they explore a new, unexplored area. She realizes she has developed a strange ability to sense the presence of magical beasts and treasures from afar. Her red eyes narrow with focus, As they approach a rocky outcrop, she senses something unusual ahead, a hidden threat that hasn't noticed them yet. Leo sniffs the air, his golden bell jingling softly as he detects a change in the environment. His instincts confirm Bianca's suspicion. An ambush is waiting, just around the corner. A sudden blast of orange flames erupts as Leo preemptively strikes a hidden, rock-armored scorpion. He smiles cheerfully, feeling a surge of energy as the monster is vaporized before it can even move. Bianca looks surprised by her own accuracy, realizing her royal descendant aura might be awakening. She looks around cautiously, sensing that the atmosphere of the forest has shifted and they are no longer alone. As golden bubbles of spiritual aura float around her, Bianca closes her eyes to concentrate. Leo looks on innocently, while Bianca pushes her senses to their limit to scan the surrounding cliffs. A sharp, serious gaze returns to Bianca's eyes as she snaps her head toward a loud noise echoing from the distance. The sound of chaos and screaming begins to filter through the tree. Carrying Leo, Bianca runs along a narrow mountain pass, moving toward the source of the commotion. They pass a cracked stone monument that warns freshmen to enter with extreme caution, signaling they are entering a high-danger zone. The rocky path is littered with small glowing stones and autumn leaves, leading to a dark cave entrance. Suddenly, a group of terrified academy students bursts out of the cavern, their uniforms torn and battered. A male student runs for his life, his face twisted in pure terror, while a girl, with short brown hair, sobs hysterically behind him. They look like they've just escaped a nightmare, fleeing from something far beyond their level. Clutching a single blue crystal, as if her life depends on it, the crying girl wails in fear. She regrets taking even a small amount of the beast's treasure, fearing the creature's wrath will never end. Bianca stands perfectly calm as the panicked crowd dashes past her in a frantic stampede. She and Leo watch the chaos with confusion, remaining unmoved by the hysteria gripping the other students. One of the fleeing boys yells out a desperate warning to Bianca, sweat pouring down his face. He pleads with her to turn back before she meets the same fate as their fallen comrade. Bianca looks over her shoulder with a questioning expression, trying to understand the scale of the threat. Nearby, the crying girl shivers in the shadows, her spirit completely broken by the encounter. A blonde student kneels on the ground, clutching an injured arm in agony. He warns Bianca that a Tier 4 peak monster is inside the cave, a beast so powerful. It defeated 3 contract beasts in a single hit, just as the Academy's elite, teaching assistants dash toward the danger to enter. Bianca cradles Leo protectively as she stands along the rocky mountain path, surrounded by the battered Academy students. One of the blonde students, clutching his injured arm in pain and terror, looks back at the canyon entrance, with a weary, desperate expression, pleading with her not to go inside and seek death. Beneath them, the rugged ravine stretches out under a deep red twilight sky, where faint purple spiritual embers drift silently over the stony ground. Suddenly, a massive explosion of dirt and debris erupts further up the stone-paved path, shattering the silence. Out of the blinding dust cloud emerges, the source of the disturbance, the terrifying Thunder Rock giant lizard, a colossal dark gray armored reptile with glowing blue eyes, razor-sharp teeth, and violet lightning crackling violently across its rugged scales. The formidable Thunder Rock giant lizard roars furiously, opening its massive jaws as purple electricity surges around its armored body. Nearby, the brown-haired student covers his head in absolute panic under the crimson sky, screaming that they are finished and doomed to die. While Bianca looks on, alarmed but focused, Leo remains entirely calm and curious in her arms. In a hilarious moment of pure swagger, Leo holds up a sleek, golden lighter against a backdrop of roaring ocean waves, coolly flicking it, open to light his tail flame, while quoting that the bigger the storm, the more expensive the fish. The massive, electrified lizard looms menacingly over the tiny orange lizard, preparing to crush him. But the ground shatters violently, sending up thick clouds of brown dust and stone debris as the heavy beast stomps past the ancient stone warning monument. The panicked student in the blue blazer continues to cower, covering his head as a wave of violet electricity sweeps across the terrain. Suddenly, a bright vertical slash of red-orange energy cuts directly through the dense cloud of dust, signaling a dramatic shift in the back. Leo looks back with a smug, knowing grin as his small body begins to glow with a brilliant crimson aura. In an instant, the majestic purple lightning dragon is revealed, standing tall with massive purple-gemmed wings, golden armor plates, and crackling violet electricity. The fleeing students, including the crying girl and the red-haired student, stand completely frozen in awe and disbelief at the dragon's appearance. The brown-haired boy stares blankly ahead, his face dripping with sweat from shock, as he wonders how a small lizard could become so huge. The brown-haired girl in her torn uniform sighs with immense relief, resting her hand on her forehead as she realizes they might survive. Meanwhile, The Thunder Rock giant lizard growls low, its glowing blue eyes narrowing as it faces down. A close-up reveals the purple lightning dragon glaring down with glowing red eyes, purple lightning crackling from its horns. An even tighter shot emphasizes the dragon's menacing facial features and razor-sharp teeth radiating absolute dominance. The purple lightning dragon charges a swirling sphere of violet electric energy inside its open maw, preparing his signature azure thunder dragon flame. With a powerful roar, the dragon unleashes a devastating torrent of flame and lightning directly into the face of the Thunder Rock giant lizard. A massive fireball of bright orange and yellow flames consumes the area, lighting up the entire ravine. Through the thick black smoke, the Thunder Rock giant lizard's glowing blue eyes squints in rage as it struggles to endure the blast. Roaring in pain, the giant lizard's armored body surges with purple electricity as it resists the damage. Refusing to back down, the lizard charges its own blue electric attack, preparing a powerful counterstrike of purple light. The purple lightning dragon and the Thunder Rock giant lizard clash, head to head, powerful bolts of lightning sparking violently between them. 3. Students watch the titanic struggle in absolute terror, holding hands as they prepare for the devastating shockwave. The immense pressure of the clash blows the students off their feet, scattering them across the dirt. The blonde student lies flat on his stomach, holding his head in tears as the dust settles over the rocky terrain. The brown-haired student looks up in astonishment at the sheer scale of the battle. In the air, the purple lightning dragon lands a heavy, explosive physical blow onto the armored back of the lizard, sending sparks and glowing blue blood flying. The dragon continues to relentlessly bombard the giant lizard with fiery breaths and lightning strikes from above. After a grueling exchange, the purple lightning dragon stands victoriously over the severely battered, bleeding lizard. The Thunder Rock giant lizard stands exhausted and weakened, its defense completely shattered. It attempts to swing the heavy, hammer-like tip of its tail for a desperate counterattack, but fails to land a decisive blow. The purple lightning dragon roars triumphantly toward the sky, the violet gem on, its chest glowing brightly. The dragon leaps dynamically, smashing into the rocky cliffside and shattering the stone to seal its absolute victory. The brown-haired girl in her torn blue uniform gasps in absolute shock, her eyes wide with disbelief. Above her, the purple lightning dragon looms victoriously over the quiet battlefield as stone debris falls around it. A close-up shows the dragon's face with glowing red eyes, radiating intense draconic authority over the defeated beast. The dragon stands majestically with its wings unfurled, crackling with violet lightning against the red twilight sky. A dark, swirling vortex of purple cloud and lightning opens in the sky between the high cliffs, responding to the dragon's immense power. The dragon roars fiercely into the heavens one last time, its jaws wide open. The Thunder Rock giant lizard cries out in agony as the final surges of lightning course through its body. A massive bolt strikes the mountain peak, lighting up the dark ravine and ending the battle. The giant lizard lies completely defeated and smoking on the ground, unable to fight any longer. The purple lightning dragon looks down at its fallen opponent with a satisfied, powerful expression. The 3 rescued students lie on the ground, staring up in disbelief at the miraculous victory. The brown-haired student in the blue blazer lies flat on his chest, looking forward with a completely stunned expression at the dragon's. The brown-haired girl looks toward Bianca with a softened, grateful expression. Beside her, the brown-haired boy looks on silently, his uniform torn and dirty from the shockwaves, completely speechless. The purple lightning dragon stands proudly amidst the rugged mountains, under the red-tinted twilight sky, a true ruler of the battlefield. Glowing with energy, Leo shrinks back into his small, cute orange form and stands before the massive, defeated giant lizard, casually taking a bite of its tail. A system screen framed by a golden dragon appears, announcing host devoured Thunder Rock giant lizard and obtained 80,000 evolution points, along with an additional 33% increase in strength. Leo looks up with a cute, open-mouthed expression of joy, patting his full belly as his tail flame burns brightly. Bianca, dressed in her white ceremonial gown, looks down gently and cradles her small contract beast in her arms. Bianca stands by the ancient stone monument, holding Leo protectively as they prepare to move on. Suddenly, Valerie comes running down the mountain path toward them, looking for the source of the emergency. Valerie stands before the group of rescued students, demanding to know where the giant beast is. The students point their fingers in unison toward the cave where Bianca and Leo went, nervously explaining that the little fire lizard already ate the monster. The brown-haired student in the blue blazer looks on with a calm, tired expression. His expression softens as he looks down, reflecting on the incredible and logic-defying battle he just witnessed. Valerie stands in her ornate white and purple dress, looking completely surprised, and dumbfounded. The brown-haired student gestures excitedly toward her, describing how the tiny lizard managed to eat such a colossal beast. Valerie looks determined and serious, her purple eyes focused as she processes this unbelievable information. Meanwhile, inside a nearby cavern, Leo is shown happily rolling around on a massive mountain of sparkling blue stardust. Crystals, cheering about their newfound wealth. Leo plays joyfully in the pile of crystals, his tail flame flickering with excitement. Bianca looks down thoughtfully at the glowing blue crystal hoard, estimating that there are several hundred crystals here. Leo sits cutely on top of the sparkling pile, stopping Bianca as she holds up an empty gold-trimmed storage pouch. He winks greedily, wanting to see if these crystals are actually edible. Leo rests lazily on the crystals, looking incredibly pleased. He happily devours one of the blue stones, small flames flickering on his claws as he licks his chocolate. A system screen flashes. Devoured Stardust Crystal. Evolution points plus 1,000. Leo looks surprised, holding a single glowing blue crystal in his hands as he realizes they are indeed edible. Bianca smiles warmly and beautifully down at Leo, amused by his strong stomach. As Leo walks beside the crystals, his foot strikes something incredibly hard, revealing a unique, round gray stone with a red dragon emblem nestled inside the pile. Leo taps his chin in curiosity, examining the mysterious stone that hurt his nose. Bianca's black-gloved hand reaches down and picks up the strange object, which crackles with faint purple electricity. Bianca examines the stone closely, her red eyes narrowed in deep focus as she looks at the golden dragon carved on the red circular emblem. Outside, a wide view of the quiet valley shows the ancient stone monument standing under the red sky. Valerie enters the cavern, standing confidently with her hands on her hips as she spots them. Bianca stands beside her large pile of crystals, turning to face the teaching assistant. Leo peeks out with a fierce, protective glare, not trusting Valerie's sudden appearance. Valerie stands on the mountain path inside the cave, silhouetted against the red sky as she looks toward. Valerie looks up in surprise at the sheer size of their crystal hoard. Leo looks back at her with a grumpy, warning expression, baring his small teeth to mark his territory. Valerie looks toward the side near a massive cluster of crystals, trying to diffuse the tension. Meanwhile, Leo proudly holds up the gray dragon stone in his claws, showing off his unique find. Valerie's purple eyes widen in complete shock and realization as she recognizes the item. She instantly identifies it as Draconic Blood Essence, a legendary treasure of immense power. Leo peeks out from behind Bianca's skirt, looking up cautiously. Valerie bends down slightly, offering a soft, warm, and friendly smile toward the little fire lizard to gain his trust. Valerie and Bianca stand face to face, talking seriously under the cavern's glow. A close-up profile of Valerie shows her speaking softly, explaining that the stone contains the blood of the primordial dragonfly. Valerie stands in an elegant pose, gesturing with her gloved hand as she explains that there are only 3 such pieces in the entire realm. She looks up with a gentle, slightly surprised expression, noting that finding one is a rare hidden opportunity. Leo looks up with his mouth wide open in cute shock, realizing how valuable the stone actually is. Valerie smiles warmly and happily, looking exceptionally friendly, as she encourages them to find the remaining piece. Bianca listens quietly, her red eyes thoughtful and calm as she considers this new quest. Meanwhile, Leo looks a bit grumpy and yells out, eager to start, searching for the rest of the treasure. Silhouettes of Valerie, Bianca, and Leo are shown walking together into the distant red sunset of the mountain valley as they team up. Behind her friendly facade, a chibi-style Valerie smiles mischievously, holding her finger to her lips with a playful, devious look as she schemes to steal the priceless treasure for herself. Chibi Valerie is already plotting her escape, planning to pin the blame on Bianca while she slips away with the loot. Meanwhile, Bianca stands before a weathered stone building, her expression quiet and somewhat somber as she contemplates the weight of their mission within the secret realm. Determination burns in Bianca's eyes as she raises a finger to explain their next move. Leo standing firmly at her side with his tail flame flickering with intensity. She clenches her fist with unwavering resolve, while Leo peeks out from behind her arm, ready for whatever challenge awaits them. In a moment of playfulness, Leo puffs out his cheeks and makes a silly face, momentarily breaking the tension. However, the gravity of the situation returns. As Bianca begins to sprint forward with a focused gaze, Leo's head peeking into view as they hurry through the ruins. Encountering a massive white-boned scorpion, Leo doesn't hesitate, opening his jaws wide to unleash a devastating torrent of golden lightning and fire. The beast is instantly struck by a powerful bolt of blue electricity, shattering under the weight of the combined elemental assault. Bianca stands over the remains, thoughtfully examining a sparkling blue crystal, she just retrieved from the defeated beast. She carefully tucks the precious resource into her white storage pouch, ensuring their hard-earned spoils are secured for the Academy assessment. Their path is suddenly blocked by the dragon bone magic lizard, a massive skeletal dragon with glowing purple gems embedded along its spine. Standing before a swirling blue portal, Leo roars in a fierce challenge, baring his teeth. As he prepares to face the undead guardian, Leo calls upon his true power, transforming into the purple lightning dragon as his golden-trimmed wings crackle with lethal yellow electricity. He stands tall and proud, letting out a roar that echoes through the cavern, signaling his dominance over the skeletal beast. A massive explosion of golden flames and thick smoke engulfs the bone dragon, turning the battlefield into a chaotic haze. The skeletal creature screams in agony as a brilliant blue-white energy field surges around it, leading to its ultimate defeat. A golden system screen materializes, announcing that the dragon bone magic lizard has been devoured, granting Leo a massive 80,000 evolution points. Along with the power boost, a new message pops up informing him that he has obtained the formidable skill Dragon Might. Reverting to his smaller form, Leo stands near the blue portal, catching his breath while looking down. He triumphantly holds up the gray stone dragon seal to show Bianca, who watches from the background with a gentle, appreciative smile. Under the swirling energy of the portal, Bianca smiles warmly, relieved by their success. However, the atmosphere shifts as they enter a foggy forest inhabited by pale, translucent, ghostly spirits with haunting, hollow eyes. They arrive at a set of ruined stone gates beneath a dark red sky, a place that feels heavy with ancient energy. Wrapped around the stone structures is the ghostly dragon, a serpentine blue spirit whose eyes shine with a cold, spectral light. The purple lightning dragon confronts the serpentine spirit under the starlit red sky, refusing to be intimidated by the ghost. He strikes with a powerful beam of light, crackling with white-hot electricity, tearing through the spectral form of his. With the spirit weakened, the purple lightning dragon lunges forward to swallow the ghostly dragon's head, devouring its essence in a single gulp. The system confirms the meal, awarding 90,000 evolution points and the passive ability, Ghostly Resistance. Leo settles into a meditative pose as purple wisps exit his body, demonstrating his newly acquired immunity to spiritual interference. In the distance, a massive glowing white gold dragon silhouette rises, radiating a divine light that seems to oversee the. Looking up at the twilight sky, Leo feels the surge of power within him as he clutches the gray stone dragon seal tightly in his claws. He holds the artifact out proudly, knowing they are one step closer to uncovering the secret Valerie. His tail flame flickers near the cold stone pavement as he chirps happily at Bianca, celebrating their progress. Bianca, standing gracefully in her white ceremonial gown, looks down at her companion with pride as they continue their. The mood turns tense as they reach a foggy clearing and find Valerie waiting by a tree. Bianca's expression becomes serious, sensing that their uneasy alliance with the teaching assistant is about to be tested once again. Valerie claps her hands together with a warm, seemingly innocent smile, acting as if she is impressed by their findings. Below, Leo keeps a firm grip on the red and gold dragon seal, his eyes fixed on the artifact as he senses Valerie's arrival. Leo looks up at Valerie with an innocent expression, though his guard remains up as he holds the stone. He soon makes a smug, proud face, boasting about his ability to find the rare pieces that have eluded others for centuries. Valerie giggles at Leo's antics, covering her mouth with her white-gloved hand in a playful gesture. In a light-hearted moment, chibi versions of the trio stand together, highlighting the strange dynamic forming between the students and the assistant. Valerie maintains her friendly facade, offering a gentle smile as she moves toward them. Bianca gestures in surprise, caught off guard by Valerie's sudden shift in tone, while Leo watches with a cute, curious grin. Beneath the starry sky, Bianca crosses her arms skeptically, questioning Valerie's true intentions as they stand before the stone ruins. The two engage in a hushed conversation, the tension between them thick in the cool night air. Valerie raises a finger to explain the importance of the items, claiming they are part of a hidden opportunity granted by the Academy. A humorous chibi scene flashes, showing a tearful Bianca and Leo being scolded by the Grand Imperial representative, emphasizing the trouble they might face if they fail. Valerie's elegant high-heeled shoe clicks against the stone path as she begins to walk, her eyes flashing with a hidden agenda. She is followed closely by Luna, her beautiful white fox companion with pink-tipped tails and a glowing blue collar. As they speak, Valerie rests her finger on her chin, seemingly deep in thought. However, a close-up reveals a cunning, devious grin stretching across her face as her purple eyes glow with a greedy light. The conversation continues at the stone gate, with Bianca still wary of the situation. Meanwhile, Leo remains oblivious to the potential betrayal, looking up with a wide, happy grin and sparkling eye. Valerie suddenly looks surprised, her eyes widening as if she's just realized something important about their surroundings. She gestures toward Luna, signaling for her contract beast to finally demonstrate her own unique abilities. Luna lets out a majestic howl toward the crimson sky, sending ripples of sound. Through the air as blue, flame-like energy begins to swirl around her paw. Standing proudly on the stone tiles, Luna manifests a set of golden armored shoulder plates, proving her status as a high-tier beast. The transformation is so sudden that Bianca gasps, covering her mouth in shock at the fox's hidden power. Against a swirling purple galaxy backdrop, Luna howls once more, radiating a powerful aura. Valerie looks forward with a confident smile, raising a finger as she prepares to challenge Leo's dominance. In a playful chibi moment, Valerie gives a happy thumbs up, feeling certain of her victory. Near a small campfire, Leo stands with his arms crossed, wearing a smug smirk, as if he finds the display unimpressive. A close-up of Valerie's intense purple eyes highlights her focus as she observes the battlefield near the stone ruins. Luna sits quietly in the corner, waiting for the command to strike. The purple lightning dragon roars with authority, surges of electricity coursing through his wings as he prepares to fight. Luna's eyes widen in surprise, realizing the lizard she was mocking is a far more dangerous opponent than she anticipated. Luna tries to maintain her elegant composure, her fluffy tail swaying behind her. However, she is met with the intimidating glare of the dragon, whose red eyes burn with a fierce competitive light. Electricity crackles along the dragon's massive wings as he charges his next attack. Facing the threat, Luna stands ready, her golden shoulder armor shimmering under the spectral moonlight. The dragon begins to gather a massive amount of blue-white energy within his chest, preparing a devastating move. He unleashes it in a wide shockwave that ripples across the ruins, forcing the environment to tremble. Blue electrical energy dances across the dragon's sharp claws as he prepares for a physical confrontation. He looks incredibly serious and determined, focused, solely on the battle at hand. With another roar, the dragon's mouth crackles with white-blue lightning, and he breathes out a massive swirl of energy. The attack forms a violent tornado of lightning that sweeps toward the fox beast. As the dragon charges a glowing sphere of energy in his jaws, Luna retaliates with a desperate howl. She fires a concentrated blast of blue light back at the dragon, leading to a brilliant collision of power. Valerie watches the clash with a worried and angry expression, clenching her fist as the tide of the battle shifts. Luna, however, remains determined, her white face set with resolve, despite the overwhelming pressure. Purple energy swirls around Luna as she tries to hold her ground on the stone pavement. Opposite her, the purple lightning dragon stands within a barrier of swirling energy, looking completely unshakable. A flicker of surprise crosses the dragon's face for a moment, his eyes widening at Luna's persistence. He quickly refocuses, turning his head to analyze her next move with a serious gaze. The dragon's orange-red eyes glow with intensity as he stares down his opponent. He bares his teeth with a slight frown, showing that he is ready to end this confrontation once and for all. The two beasts face off across an energy barrier, the tension between them reaching a breaking point. The dragon turns and lets out a final, crackling roar, while Luna watches calmly, seemingly accepting the inevitable. A close-up of Luna's golden armor is the last thing seen before a massive burst of blue energy explodes across the ground. The shockwave rattles the stone gate, signaling the conclusion of the fight. Luna lies defeated on her side, looking exhausted and unable to continue the struggle. Valerie looks down at her fallen companion with a sad and worried expression, her plans crumbling around. The purple lightning dragon looms over the defeated fox, his dominance undisputed. Reverting to his small orange form, Leo walks over to the curled up Luna as golden sparkles float through the air around. Tears well up in Luna's large purple eyes as she looks up, feeling sad and helpless after her loss. Leo stands before her with his hands on his hips, wearing a happy, proud smile that causes Luna to look up at him, and Luna closes her eyes and continues to cry, overwhelmed by the turn of events. Leo offers her a warm, comforting smile under the twilight sky, showing a softer side to the mischievous lizard. A close-up shows Luna crying, the blue jewel around her neck shimmering. Nearby, a sparkling diamond-shaped crystal pendant hangs from a silver chain, catching the faint light of the stars. Leo speaks to Luna with an expressive and determined face, likely offering her words of encouragement after their battle. The two stand side by side, both looking forward with a serious and newly found sense of focus. Luna looks up at Leo with loving eyes, pink hearts floating around her as she becomes smitten with the powerful lizard. Leo, however, is distracted by a giant pile of meat and crystals, looking ready to celebrate their victory with a feast. Luna gives Leo a sad, pleading look, perhaps asking for his forgiveness or favor. Leo's eyes pop out in shock and excitement as he reacts to her sudden change in behavior. Against a vibrant red and yellow sunburst background, Luna stands proudly amidst a collection of glowing stardust crystals. Leo looks extremely pleased, smiling, with his eyes closed as he basks in the success of their harvest. Leo looks down with a happy smile, content with the day's events. Meanwhile, Luna is seen resting comfortably near Valerie's pink hair, the conflict between them finally settled. Suddenly, 3 cracked stone monuments featuring the golden dragon emblem begin to crackle with violent purple electricity. The resonance between the artifacts triggers a reaction that shakes the very ground beneath. Bianca looks around with alarm, sensing a sudden and dangerous shift in the realm's energy. Beside her, Leo looks up with his mouth wide open in a state of complete shock and terror. A massive pillar of dark red and black energy erupts into the sky behind the stone ruins, creating a terrifying explosion. Bianca, Leo, and Valerie watch in awe as Valerie covers her mouth, her face pale with fear. From the energy pillar emerges the Scarlet Flame Subdragon Soul, a colossal entity covered in intense red flames. It spreads its massive wings across a starlit cosmic background, letting out a roar that threatens to tear the forest apart. The red eyes of the Scarlet Flame Dragon glow with an overwhelming power as it descends. The massive fiery beast coils itself within a dark clearing, surrounded by towering pine trees under the cloudy night sky. The Scarlet Flame's Subdragon Soul stands tall and roars again, its fiery wings casting a hellish glow over the forest. Bianca and Leo can only watch in astonishment, their eyes wide at the sight of the legendary beast. Leo's eyes begin to sparkle with golden light as his fear is replaced by a burning determination to fight. Sensing his challenge, the fiery red dragon roars fiercely and begins its charge. The dragon prepares a devastating breath attack, its roar vibrating through the trees. In the distance, white ghostly spirits and the bone scorpion huddle, together illuminated by the ominous red glow of the dragon's power. Spirits fly through the trees in a panic as a prehistoric-looking dinosaur beast watches the chaos unfold. A blonde student nearby cries out in fear, raising her hand as the sky grows darker and more dangerous. The Scarlet Flame Subdragon Soul unleashes a massive blast of red fire, incinerating the surrounding wild beasts in a single strike. Leo looks up with a serious, thoughtful expression, realizing he needs a plan to handle this level of power. Luna's white tail flickers as she sprints through the brush, trying to keep up with Valerie. The two of them hurry along the dark forest path, attempting to distance themselves from the catastrophic explosion of energy. Leo closes his eyes in frustration, perhaps overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the situation. He suddenly cries out dramatically, tears flying from his eyes as he realizes the trouble they have stumbled in. High in the air, the gray stone dragon seal begins to float, crackling with intense purple electricity as it reacts to the dragon soul. Leo looks up at the floating artifact with a tearful, shocked expression, standing amidst the ruins, as the shocking secret of the realm finally unfolds. Leo stands trembling amidst the stone ruins, tears of sheer terror welling in his eyes as a dark, oppressive sky looms overhead. Sensing the grave danger, his form suddenly surges with power, manifesting the majestic purple lightning dragon as violet arcs of electricity crackle around his massive frame. Sweat drips down Bianca's face as she cries out in alarm, her voice filled with desperation as she warns her companion. Behind her, the purple lightning dragon looms through a thick cloud of white dust, its presence growing increasingly menacing as it faces the unseen threat. Under a star-strewn red sky, the white multi-tailed fox, Luna, leaps forward with a look of utter surprise. She flies directly toward the clearing where the giant purple lightning dragon hovers protectively, its massive form casting a shadow over the forest floor. Gently, the dragon reaches out with a massive dark purple claw to catch Luna, holding her safely while gripping a glowing orange dragon seal in its other hand. The dragon's orange eyes glow with an intense protective fury as it secures the red seal, refusing to let its prize be taken. Wide-eyed with relief and awe, Luna looks up from the safety of the dragon's massive hand. However, the peace is short-lived as the colossal Scarlet Flame Subdragon Soul rears back, its body radiating a terrifying aura of fiery red energy. As lightning crackles from its horns, the purple lightning dragon watches the fiery apparition with calculated focus. Seizing the opportunity, Valerie rushes through the foggy forest to scoop up Luna, pulling her close into a protective embrace. The physical and mental toll of the encounter leaves Valerie exhausted, and she collapses flat on her back on the green grass under the red sky. She looks up toward the heavens, her pink bangs disheveled as she pants heavily from the exertion. Luna gazes up with a worried, adorable expression, sensing the tension remaining in the air. The purple lightning dragon doesn't waver, narrowing its eyes with a fierce, protective glare that warns the enemy to stay. The two titans face off over the forest canopy, the purple lightning dragon on the left and the scarlet flame subdragon soul on the right, silhouetted against a deep red sunset. The fiery red spirit lets out a thunderous roar, its body composed of crackling flames that threaten to consume everything. A close-up reveals the sheer savagery of the red dragon as it bares its razor-sharp teeth. Its solid white eyes radiate a level of power that confirms its status as a peak-level threat from ancient time. The purple lightning dragon narrows its eyes, lightning shooting across its brow, in response to the challenge. The forest clearing becomes the stage for a legendary standoff as the purple and red dragons prepare for a direct collision. Golden chains wrap around the scarlet flame subdragon soul as it roars. A system notification identifying it as a Tier 8 peak subdragon from its former life. Leo focuses his orange eyes on his opponent, baring his teeth as he prepares to defy the overwhelming odds. With a fist clenched and sparking with purple lightning, the purple lightning dragon clashes directly with the fiery spirit. The impact is so immense that shockwaves ripple through the forest, sending rocks flying into the air as the two colossal forces struggle for dominance. The sheer strength of the red dragon pushes Leo back, sending him crashing into the jagged rocks. Seeing her partner in pain, Bianca gasps and holds her hands to her mouth, her face pale with fear and worry. Despite the purple blood dripping from its chin, the dragon growls and refuses to back down. With a fierce and determined glare, Leo clenches his fist once more, his spirit unbroken by the crushing weight of the enemy's power. The scarlet flame sub-dragon soul stands proudly, savoring its temporary advantage. It lets out a triumphant roar, its fiery form flickering with the arrogance of a predator that believes the battle is already won. From a high angle, the red dragon's head looms over the clearing like a god of destruction. Below it, the purple lightning dragon crouches low to the ground, crackling with violet electricity as it gathers every ounce of strength for a final assault. Spreading its massive, gem-studded wings wide, the purple dragon prepares for flight. It looks up at the red fiery dragon soaring in the sky above, locking onto its target with predatory precision. Leo opens his mouth, charging a devastating sphere of purple electricity deep within his throat. He fires a massive, swirling beam of lightning that cuts through the air like a lance of pure energy. The blast hits the scarlet flame sub-dragon soul head-on, resulting in a blinding white explosion that lights up the sky. The red dragon looks stunned, its white glowing eyes narrowing as it feels its energy form beginning to waver. The purple lightning dragon lands and stands ready, refusing to drop its guard for even a second. Its glowing orange eye remains locked onto the target, waiting to see if the spirit has been truly vanquished. A massive beam of red fire suddenly blasts across the sky, leaving a trail of thick black smoke in its wake. In response, Bianca raises her silver crescent staff, her moon emblem glowing with an intense and determined light. Bianca raises her staff high above her head with both hands, channeling her mana. With a decisive swing, she releases a powerful swirl of green healing, magic that rushes toward Leo's battered. Exhaustion is visible on the dragon's face, his strength nearly spent from the relentless battle. However, the green magic wraps around him, revitalizing his tired muscles and sealing his wounds in a surge of restorative energy. Framed by a brilliant sunburst, the scarlet flame sub-dragon soul roars one last time into the red starlit sky. Below, Valerie clutches Luna to her chest in shock, her eyes fixed on the terrifying spectacle unfolding above the tree. Tears well up in Valerie's eyes as she witnesses the dragon's struggle. Now, bolstered by the green healing embers and his own violet lightning, the purple lightning dragon prepares to strike with renewed vigor. Though battle-worn and weary, the dragon's face remains a mask of pure determination. Smoke rises from its nostrils as it breathes heavily, focused entirely on the spirit before. Standing in the forest clearing, with wings spread wide, Leo crackles with an overwhelming amount of purple lightning. From the shadows of the forest floor, other wild beasts watch the epic confrontation in paralyzed awe. Dark red storm clouds swirl violently in the sky, reacting to the massive discharge of energy. Chibi Valerie looks up with a wide-eyed, shocked expression, completely overwhelmed by the scale of the destruction. Suddenly, Leo undergoes a massive evolution, his scales transforming as he is, encased in blazing red-orange fire and violet light. His newly evolved head emerges from the roaring flames, radiating a level of power far beyond his previous. The scarlet flame sub-dragon soul is completely overwhelmed as a massive bolt of blue lightning strikes from the heavens. The strike shatters the fiery spirit's form, ending its reign of terror in a single decisive blow. As the dust settles, the misty pine forest returns to a haunting quiet. Panicked, students in their white and red uniforms run through the area, seeking safety, now that the immediate threat has vanished. A large wolf beast and a giant toad stand near two terrified students, but their attention is quickly drawn elsewhere. The newly evolved dragon stands majestically in the clearing, its body crackling with a combination of red fire and white. The dragon is encased in a massive, glowing orange protective sphere beneath the stormy sky. Valerie stands in the forest, clutching Luna as she looks up with a soft, surprised expression at the magnificent sight. Leo looks down, his orange eye glowing with a warm, satisfied light. Beneath a now clear blue sky, the massive dragon stands over a glowing orange orb, the concentrated essence of the fallen dragon's soul. With a focused gaze, the dragon prepares to devour the floating orb to claim its power. A system notification confirms the success, announcing that devouring the Scarlet Flame Subdragon soul has granted Leo 600,000 evolution points. The majestic purple and red dragon stands fully healed, surrounded by a brilliant golden-orange light. Its power has reached a new peak, and its form exudes an aura of absolute authority. Spreading its wings proudly, Leo reads the system text informing him that his next evolution will require a staggering 5 million points. He looks directly forward, lightning crackling from his brow, with an intensity that demands respect. The dragon roars toward the sky, breathing a massive stream of fire that illuminates the night. Its magnificent new form is fully revealed, featuring dark purple scales, red flame-like armor plates, and a crown-like crest upon its head. A beautiful starry night sky stretches over the rocky mountains of the secret realm, the cosmic blue nebula, reflecting the newfound peace of the air. Standing under the stars, the majestic dragon radiates an aura of pure, unbridled power. A close-up of its snout shows it looking down with glowing red-orange eyes, its presence commanding the entire landscape. A massive purple and red tornado of fire and lightning swirls under the night sky, marking the completion of the dragon's transformation. The system reiterates that 5 million points are now needed for the next stage of his journey. The dragon stands tall with its flame-patterned wings spread wide against the blue sky. Every detail of its face, from the golden horns to the intricate crown, speaks to its evolution into a true high-tier beast. Relieved that the nightmare is over, Bianca runs up and wraps her arms around the dragon's neck, crying tears of joy as she hugs him tightly. Leo looks down at her with a gentle, soft gaze, acknowledging her support. As the dragon holds Bianca gently against its neck, Valerie looks on from the ground. Her face is a mix of sadness and shock, sweat dripping down her cheek as she processes the bond between the two. The dragon roars happily toward the starry sky, its voice filled with triumph. Valerie, however, clutches her dress tightly, her mixed emotions visible as she grapples with her own feelings of inadequacy and relief. In a sudden movement, Valerie is seen running or falling, her form a blur. She eventually settles on the ground next to Luna, quietly observing the intimate moment between Bianca and the dragon. Luna walks toward the giant dragon's head, looking incredibly small and cute in comparison. Nearby, Bianca holds her hands over a glowing green orb, continuing to cast supportive magic to ensure Leo is fully recovered. Standing beside the massive dragon under the red sunset, Bianca looks up at her, companion with pride. Valerie remains on the grass, her expression soft and amazed as she gazes at the majestic creature that saved them. Overcome with gratitude, Valerie crawls over and clings tightly to the dragon's massive purple leg, sobbing with relief. Leo looks down at her with a distinct blush on his cheeks, clearly embarrassed by her sudden and dramatic display of affection. Valerie speaks to the dragon through her tears, while Bianca stands in the background, watching the scene unfold with a warm and gentle smile, despite a small sweat drop of amusement at the situation. The scene turns more dramatic as Valerie cries out, tears flying everywhere as she speaks. Bianca continues to smile elegantly, her eyes closed as she appreciates the turn of events. In a comedic shift, Chibi Valerie cries giant cartoon tears against a pink heart-filled background. This quickly transitions back to reality, showing Valerie with real, sparkling tears in her wide violet eyes. Leo looks down at the crying girl with a gentle gaze, his previous ferocity replaced by a soft concern. Valerie hugs his scaly leg tighter, a sweet and blushing smile appearing on her tear-stained face. Under the starlit sky, the dragon continues to look down at Valerie with a warm expression. She gazes back up at him, her eyes filled with admiration for the powerful beast. Luna stands in the background with pink hearts floating over her head, her joy radiating as she smiles brightly with her eyes squeezed shut. Valerie's hand rests gently on the dragon's purple leg as a gesture of her newfound loyalty. The dragon stands majestically with its wings folded, looking over its shoulder toward the girl it protects. Valerie looks up with a soft, hopeful gaze, seeking the dragon's approval. Leo looks back at her warmly, his orange eyes reflecting a growing bond between. With a determined and serious expression, Valerie speaks to the group. She pumps her fists, looking completely fired up and full of energy for whatever comes next. Luna smiles happily in the background, but Valerie's expression turns to a grumble as she holds her chin in thought, cartoonish squiggles floating around her as she ponders her next move. The dragon's head takes on a serious expression as it prepares for the transition back. Leo is soon enveloped in a bright purple glowing light as he begins the process of shrinking down to his original size. A translucent purple outline shows Leo returning to his small form, but with a new addition, small orange wings. He floats happily in the air, his tail flame, flickering with excitement over his new ability. Flying with his new wings, Leo chirps happily as he glides through the air. Bianca smiles gently as he eventually flies over and lands snugly on her shoulder, his favorites. They arrive at a massive dark stone cave entrance, carved into the side of a rocky mountain under the red starlit sky. As Bianca stands outside, Leo's mouth drops open in shock at the sheer scale of the interior. A close-up of Leo's eye shows the reflection of a brilliant, glowing blue galaxy of crystals hidden within the darkness. With Leo on her shoulder, Bianca cautiously steps into the cave, surrounded by faint purple embers as they begin their next great exploration. Bianca stands at the entrance of the cavern, covering her mouth with her black-gloved hand in sheer awe. High above, the ceiling of the dark cave is transformed into a breathtaking display covered in thousands of brilliant, glowing blue stardust crystals that mimic a sparkling night sky. Taking a wide path into the cave, Bianca watches as Leo runs ahead, his small tail flame acting as a lantern against the dark rocks. The little lizard eventually reaches a stone ledge, climbing up with wide, excited eyes as he takes in the subterranean wonder. A glittering galaxy of blue crystals reflects in Leo's eyes as he reaches the peak of the ledge. With a look of pure happiness, he climbs onto a large cluster of the glowing formations, his small claws making contact with the treasure. Leo reaches out with a bright smile, touching a crystal to confirm its reality. He begins to happily pat the glowing gems, his tail flame flickering with excitement in the background as he realizes the scale of their haul. Bianca quickly gets to work, opening her white magical storage bag decorated with golden stars and nebulae. Kneeling on the stone floor, she remains focused and determined, carefully packing the harvested crystals into her bag. Leo continues to climb across the crystal formations, moving with practiced ease. He eventually stops, turning his head back to offer Bianca a happy, encouraging smile as they work together. The massive scale of the cavern is revealed as Bianca stands in the distance, dwarfed by the glowing environment. Nearby, Leo struggles to hold a massive, raw blue stardust crystal in his orange claws, determined to contribute to the harvest. As she watches the crystals, a soft purple glow reflects in Bianca's eyes. Standing nearby in her white and purple dress, Valerie watches the pair with a thoughtful expression, observing their teamwork and the sheer amount of treasure they are collecting. Leo looks up with a determined and confident expression, proud of their progress. However, his mood shifts as he turns around with a slightly grumpy, protective look, his tail flame rising as he guards the crystals. Sensing his suspicion, Valerie raises her hands in a gesture of surrender, looking slightly nervous. She smiles sheepishly, trying to appear friendly and non-threatening to the territorial fire lizard. Valerie giggles shyly, appearing embarrassed as she tries to bridge the tension. Beside her, Leo stands proudly next to a small pouch overflowing with colorful green, blue, and red gems, his chest puffed out with pride. Bianca and Valerie stand together within the massive cavern, the glowing environment casting long shadows behind them. Leo stands tall between the two women, pointing toward the magical stardust bag to signal that they are ready to head out. Suddenly, Valerie looks up in alarm, her mouth falling open in shock. Leo follows her gaze, his excited expression quickly turning into one of surprise and worry. The ceiling of the cave begins to crack and collapse under the pressure of a sudden anomaly, sending massive boulders crashing down amidst thick clouds of dust. Outside, a pink bolt of lightning strikes the mountain pass under an ominous, dark red, stormy sky. A bolt of lightning cracks through the valley, highlighting the cave entrance. From a high angle as the ground trembles, Bianca, clutching Leo and a glowing blue crystal, looks up in concern as smoke and dust rise from the collapsing cavern behind. Alarm and worry are etched onto Bianca's face as she assesses the danger. She holds Leo protectively, while the little lizard tightly clutches a large blue crystal in his arms, refusing to let go even as the cave crumbled. Bianca's hand clenches her dress, her tension visible as the situation grows dire. She looks toward the collapsing sky with an intense, determined expression, knowing they need to move immediately. Leo stands close to her, his tail flame flickering nervously as he holds his crystal. Bianca reaches down, gently taking the crystal from his arms and patting him reassuringly to calm his fear. They begin to run, Bianca moving quickly through the foggy forest path with Leo held securely in her arms. Her golden high-heeled shoes strike the cracked ground as stones and debris begin to crumble behind her. Leo watches the passing forest from the safety of Bianca's arms, his face a mask of focus. Beside them, Valerie runs through the mist, clutching her white fox Luna, close to her chest as they flee the collapsing realm. Valerie yells out in panic, her voice echoing through the storm as they push forward. A wide shot reveals the two girls sprinting across a cracked stone bridge under the blood-red sky, the very ground falling away just steps behind. In a state of pure panic, Valerie continues to run with Luna, looking back as the terrain closes in on them. She shouts in desperation, her eyes fixed on the path ahead as the world behind them disappears. Back at the academy, the white stone gate and its swirling blue portal stand, quiet, under a clear sky. Suddenly, the portal activates violently, and the group of panicked students dashes out, rocks and debris falling through the gateway. With them, students emerge from the portal in various states of exhaustion and distress, collapsing onto the courtyard floor. A stern-looking male instructor with purple hair and a white-gold uniform watches the scene with a grim, unimpressed expression. The instructor sweats slightly as he observes the chaos, realizing the severity of the anomaly. Nearby, a dark-haired student ignores the noise, lovingly cradling her injured beast on the stone floor. Tears stream down the female student's face as she grieves for her beast, her heart broken by the trial. In the background, a smug-looking orange-haired student smiles confidently, seemingly unbothered by the distress of his peers. The orange-haired student smirks proudly, confident in his performance. Moments later, Bianca emerges from the portal in her red academy uniform and black blazer, carrying Leo comfortably on her shoulder. Bianca wipes the sweat from her forehead, looking exhausted but relieved to have escaped the collapsing realm. On her shoulder, Leo wears a happy, content smile, satisfied with their survival and their loot. A group of students in red and white uniforms gathers around, relieved to see Bianca safe. Among them, a brown-haired girl in a torn light blue uniform giggles happily, sharing a moment of joy with a classmate. The brown-haired boy and girl, both in torn uniforms, stand together with warm smiles. The boy looks toward Bianca with a bright, grateful expression, acknowledging her help during the chaos. The massive white stone archway of the academy gate looms over the courtyard as the official assessment begins. Beside the proctor's table, the beautiful grand imperial representative stands in her elegant red and white robes, ready to oversee the results. The representative watches the gathered students with a serious, focused expression, her presence commanding respect. A tighter close-up reveals her beautiful face and deep purple eyes as she begins to observe the submitted crystals. Raising her hand to address the crowd, the representative calls for order. The assembled students stand listening attentively in the courtyard, their fates hanging on the upcoming tally. The proctor's long golden table is set with a silver chalice, a book, and a measurement device. A close-up focuses on the white electronic scoring device, which currently displays a clean starting score of 0. A red-haired student speaks confidently to his classmates, boasting about his supposed success. Nearby, a purple-haired student holds his head in his hands, looking defeated and worried about his own results. One student begins the process by pouring a handful of glittering crystals into the measurement chalice. The electronic counter screen ticks up immediately, showing a modest starting count of 0.0.8. A middle-aged male examiner with short gray-brown hair and black taming robes addresses the line of students. He looks serious and formal, maintaining the integrity of the academy's entrance. The group of students looks on with surprised and impressed expressions as the scores begin to climb. Suddenly, the red-haired elite student arrives, boastfully, his giant armored rhinoceros carrying a massive sack of crystals behind him. The elite student smirks arrogantly under the blue sky, enjoying the attention of his peers. Looking back in shock and jealousy, another male student watches him, sweat dripping down his face at the sight of the elite's haul. The red-haired elite walks up to the proctor's table, his armored rhinoceros standing firm beside him. He opens the huge brown sack, and a brilliant torrent of glowing blue stardust crystals begins to pour onto the table. The measurement counter rises with incredible speed, rapidly clicking until it reaches a high score of 8.8.0. The examiner looks on, slightly surprised and genuinely impressed by such a high count from a single student. The examiner's expression shifts to one of shock, his teeth gritted in disbelief at the result. An extreme close-up shows a student's wide eye, fixed on the counter as the gravity of the score sinks. The red-haired candidate in his white uniform gasps in disbelief, while a female student nearby claps her hands happily. The elite student's score has set a massive bar for the rest of the frat. Boasting proudly in front of the crowd, the red-haired elite enjoys his moment of glory, while Bianca stands quietly in the background with Leo on her shoulder. The elite smirks confidently, fully believing he has secured the top spot. Two close-up panels highlight the elite student's smug, superior gaze, his red eyes filled with arrogance as he looks down on his competitors. A high-angle shot shows the massive crowd of students gathered in the courtyard, all eyes on the testing area. The examiner sits at the golden desk, waiting for the final results to be Leo yawns widely on Bianca's shoulder, looking completely bored by the elite student's boasting. He rests a claw on her shoulder, looking smug and amused as if he knows a secret the others don't. Bianca stands calmly in the center of the courtyard, facing the examiner's table, with Leo still perched on her shoulder. She reaches into her black pocket, her movements slow and deliberate. She pulls out her white magical storage bag, the golden stars and nebula, patterns shimmering in the daylight. Holding the bag up proudly for the examiner to see, she catches the attention of a second examiner in glasses, who watches in surprise. Looking calm and focused, Bianca presents her bag to the entire crowd as Leo peers over her shoulder. She stands before the long golden desk, ready to reveal the true extent of her harvest. Bianca tilts the bag, and a massive, endless torrent of brilliant, glowing blue, stardust crystals begins to pour out. A wider shot shows the stream continuing without end, filling the measurement cup and overflowing onto the table. The glowing crystals spill out of the chalice, piling high on the gold table, until they form a glittering mountain. The table is completely overwhelmed by the sparkling stardust, which shines with a brilliance that outshines all previous submissions. The counter device ticks up at a dizzying speed, passing 200 and hitting a score of 229.0. The examiner's jaw drops in absolute shock, his eyes wide, as he stares at the screen in disbelief. The counter continues to rise, finally stopping at an incredible legendary score of 323.0 amidst the sea of blue crystals. A wide shot captures the entire crowd of students staring in complete, stunned silence at the impossible. A male student grits his teeth in shock and jealousy, sweat pouring down his face, as he realizes the gap between them. In contrast, the brown-haired girl covers her mouth in absolute joy, tears of happiness filling her eyes for Bianca's success. An extreme close-up of a student's eye captures the pure disbelief felt by everyone in the courtyard. On the stage, the Grand Imperial representative smiles warmly and proudly, looking directly toward Bianca. The representative raises her hand to officially announce the winner, standing near the mountain of crystals. She speaks with her mouth open and her purple eyes shining, her voice carrying across the silent courtyard. A close-up focuses on the representative's smiling lips as she delivers the final verdict. Bianca stands confidently in the center of the courtyard with Leo, in her arms, surrounded by classmates who now look at her with deep respect. The representative hands Bianca a white envelope marked with a prestigious golden dragon seal. Bianca receives the letter, which identifies her as a participant in the Mountain and Sea Secret Realm trial qualification. Looking directly at Bianca with a gentle, supportive gaze, the representative speaks to her with a warm and encouraging smile. She seems genuinely pleased to have such a talented student represent the academy. The representative smiles elegantly, her approval clear. Bianca looks back and smiles warmly in return, expressing her heartfelt gratitude for the recognition and the opportunity. The representative continues to look pleased with Bianca's success, her beautiful face lit with a subtle, satisfied smile. She turns her head slightly, acknowledging the magnitude of the moment. Bianca and the representative exchange a warm look of mutual respect. In a comedic shift, Leo looks up with a shocked, funny expression, his mouth wide open, as he processes the prestige of the reward. The representative's face turns serious and focused as she concludes the ceremony. Meanwhile, Leo looks back over his shoulder with an exaggerated comedic gasp of shock, adding a lighthearted touch to the intense atmosphere. While students watch in surprise, a close-up shows the intricate gold ornaments on the elite student's coat. The red-haired elite, now completely humiliated, throws a furious tantrum, pointing angrily at Bianca from the courtyard floor. The elite student yells in absolute rage and humiliation, his face turning bright red as he screams at the top of his lungs. He is unable to accept his defeat, his composure completely shattered. His face is a snarl of fury, teeth bared as he continues to point and scream at Bianca. He throws a desperate, furious fit from below the balcony, his arrogance replaced by bitter resentment. Gritting his teeth, the red-haired elite looks extremely bitter, tears of anger beginning to well in his eyes. A side profile captures him yelling out in desperation, his world crumbling around. The elite student cries tears of sheer frustration, gritting his teeth in total denial of the results. He stands with his arms outstretched, shouting hysterically as he refuses to accept that he has been outperformed. Valerie stands calmly in the crowd, holding Luna in her arms and looking down at the tantrum with a cold, unimpressed gaze. She begins to walk forward casually, pushing past the crowd to approach the shouting elite student. Valerie and Luna look down with calm, expressionless faces, their silence a sharp contrast to the elite's screaming. Valerie suddenly raises her white high-heeled shoe, delivering a powerful kick straight to the red-haired elite's back. The force of the kick sends him flying through the air. The elite student crashes face first into the stone courtyard floor, landing with a massive thud inside a rising cloud of dust. Grunting in pain, the red-haired elite looks up from the dirt in complete shock and humiliation. Looking down at him one last time, Valerie wears a beautiful, smug smirk, her eyes glowing with satisfaction as she finally puts the arrogant challenger in his place. Valerie stands before the massive gateway, her face contorted in a mix of fury and agitation as she addresses the crowd. She shouts toward the students, her frustration visible as she winces, clearly troubled by the weight of the events that transpired within the academy entrance. In the crowd, Arthur remains calm and observant, his signature green-tinted hair catching the light as he watches the unfolding drama. Beside him, a young girl with wavy black hair clenches her fists to her chest, her expression one of deep worry and intimidation as the tension in the plaza continues to mount. The red-haired elite student lies defeated on the stone pavement, his pride shattered as he gazes up from the lush green surroundings of the academy park. Valerie looks down at him with a sharp, judgmental glare, delivering a harsh verbal lashing that echoes through the courtyard. Standing firmly with her hands on her hips, Valerie allows the breeze to catch her pink hair while she stares down her opposition with an intense gaze. Her composure breaks into a moment of pure fury as she screams at the top of her lungs, her violet eyes wide with anger toward those who would slander her all. Pushing himself up slightly from the ground, the red-haired student glares back, with a look of intense hatred. However, his expression quickly shifts to one of genuine shock and panic as Valerie reveals the devastating truth regarding the Scarlet Flame sub-dragon soul. The courtyard falls into a heavy silence, split between Valerie's fixed, intense gaze and the stoic presence of the Grand Imperial representative. Dressed in her ceremonial white and red robes, the representative maintains a bored, untouchable expression, though the weight of Valerie's words begins to sink in. Valerie offers a smug, mocking wave of her hand, but her mood shifts instantly into one of horror. Her mouth drops open and her eyes widen as she witnesses the unexpected realization of the chaos her revelations have caused among the student body. The Grand Imperial representative watches the scene with a neutral, almost melancholy gaze, her thoughts unreadable. Her brow eventually furrows with concern as her focus shifts directly toward Leo and Bianca, sensing the massive shift in the Academy's destiny. Arthur leads a group of elite students forward, their faces filled with a mix of surprise and skepticism as they survey the damaged courtyard. In the foreground, Bianca stands with a serious, focused expression, her ruby eyes scanning for any potential threats amidst the rising panic. Leo offers a happy, wide-eyed grin, his flaming tail flickering with excitement. Despite the gravity of the situation, the Grand Imperial representative stares back at him with an intense, unreadable focus, clearly fascinated by the immense power residing within the small fire lizard. Closing her eyes for a moment of meditation, the representative senses the spiritual aura permeating the air. She suddenly snaps her eyes open, her expression turning fierce and authoritative as she prepares to deliver a command that will change everything. A massive, translucent red dragon roars against the orange and purple sunset sky, a manifestation of the Scarlet Flame's sub-dragon soul's fading power. Radiant beams of light shoot out from its body, creating a spiritual pressure that seems to shake the very foundation of the Academy's secret. The representative watches the dragon's manifestation with a look of stunned surprise, her lips parted slightly. The scene transitions to a memory of the Howling Abyss, where dark rocks float between jagged canyon walls under a blood-red sky, signaling the dangerous origin of the beast. Bianca gazes upward with a gentle, curious expression, while the Grand Imperial representative looks down with a face full of regret. She seems to be reminiscing about the ancient origins of the dragon soul, her thoughts heavy with the knowledge of what has been lost. Standing tall in the center of the plaza, the representative maintains her regal and untouchable demeanor. Below her, Arthur and his team of students appear, frustrated and exhausted, their uniforms disheveled after the trials they endured. In a moment of silence, the representative closes her eyes, reflecting on the fate of the realm. Somewhere deep within the red-lit, rocky terrain of the abyss, a pair of blue-trimmed boots continues to move, signaling that the consequences of the trial are still unfolding. Arthur and his team explore a dark cavern filled with glowing blue crystals, looking around in awe of the resources. However, the representative's expression remains worried, her eyes softening with a look of pity for the students who no longer have a realm to train in. Valerie distractedly licks a colorful swirl lollipop, her expression one of mild surprise as she regains her composure. In the academy gardens, Bianca cradles Leo in her arms, both of them appearing calm and content after the ordeal. Bianca continues to hold Leo, who looks somewhat overwhelmed by the sudden attention he is receiving. A comedic mental image flashes of the tiny lizard, comically biting the head of the ferocious scarlet flame dragon, highlighting the absurdity of his victory. Luna, the white moon spirit cat, watches with curious violet eyes as the massive blue energy portal at the entrance begins to shatter. Glowing shards fly through the air, indicating that the path to the secret realm has been forcefully and permanently closed. Arthur and his group stand in the courtyard, looking on with panic and shock at the portal's destruction. Arthur shouts angrily, demanding an explanation for the collapse that has stripped them of their most valuable training ground. The wavy-haired girl looks down with a sad and defeated expression, feeling the weight of the academy's loss. Meanwhile, a male student points an accusatory finger at Leo, blaming the small lizard for the total collapse of the realm. A brown-haired girl erupts in a sweat-drenched rage, shouting at Bianca and Leo for ruining their future. Arthur's elite team stands defensive and suspicious, preparing for a confrontation as the anger of the crowd reaches a breaking point. Resentment fills the eyes of a blonde student as he grinds his teeth in anger, but the wavy-haired girl refuses to stay silent. She shouts back at the accusers, her timid nature replaced by a fierce protectiveness over her fellow students. Valerie holds her hands out, attempting to cast a barrier or calm the growing mob with her determined presence. Arthur refuses to back down, his face contorted with anger as he continues to argue against her defense of Bianca. A black-haired girl offers a kind, relieved smile, seeing a shift in the tension. The Grand Imperial representative now stands next to Bianca and Leo, looking at them with a newfound sense of respect, while Leo offers a smug, knowing grin. The representative's stern profile is shown as she watches the restless students with authority. Arthur and the blue-haired girl are left completely speechless, looking on as if they have just witnessed a miracle they cannot explain. With a raised hand, the representative shouts an authoritative command to silence the courtyard. Above them, the red dragon soul roars once more against the sunset sky, its power finally being acknowledged by the entire institution. The flaming body of the red dragon soul soars through the clouds, a testament to the evolution Leo achieved. The representative watches with eyes wide in shock, realizing the true and terrifying extent of the small lizard's potential. Looking ahead with a dazed and uncertain expression, the representative begins to accept the difficult truth. She eventually bows her head and closes her eyes, showing a deep, silent respect for the overwhelming power she just witnessed. Shifting into profile, the representative focuses her sharp gaze on the gathered students. She shouts again, her voice authoritative and fierce, as she addresses the entire student body regarding the future of the academy. Amidst the chaos of the portal's final collapse, a brown-haired student shouts at the top of his lungs. His face is flushed with exertion as he tries to make his voice heard over the noise of the disgruntled crowd. A brown-haired girl watches the drama unfold with a stern and unimpressed expression, her arms crossed in defiance. The representative looks back at her with a calm, regal gaze, completely unfazed by the student's attitude as she maintains her professional composure. Arthur and his elite team hang their heads low, looking exhausted and utterly defeated by the outcome. The representative looks straight ahead with a neutral expression, preparing to announce the final results that will cement the ranking. Arthur and the wavy-haired girl look off to the side, their confusion evident as they process the shift in the academy's power dynamic. Arthur's gaze eventually fixes on Bianca and Leo, his expression becoming stoic as he begins to reassess his rivalry with them. Arthur's eyes narrow with an intense focus, while the wavy-haired girl gasps in shock. They both look toward the scoreboard, reeling from the public revelation of the final scores and the unprecedented results. The Grand Imperial representative looks away with a pensive expression, lost in thought. On a nearby hill, a student in a black and gold coat stands silhouetted against the setting sun, looking out over the academy grounds as the day ends. A rare, small smile of satisfaction crosses the representative's face, signaling her approval. Valerie matches this energy with a playful, triumphant smirk, clearly delighted by how the day's chaotic events finally conclude. Arthur leads his group once more, his annoyance and impatience visible as they move through the plaza. Beside him, a spiky-haired student with light purple hair shouts aggressively, adding his voice to the growing chorus of complaints from the disgruntled fresh. Bianca looks down at Leo with a calm, gentle face, and the lizard returns her gaze with a happy, wide-eyed expression. Arthur is seen laughing broadly, perhaps finally accepting his loss and acknowledging the absurdity of being beaten by a fire lizard. A brown-haired girl watches with a wide-eyed, shocked expression as the winners depart. Standing with the red-haired boy, the wavy-haired girl looks on with a resolute expression, both of them silently observing Bianca and Leo as they walk away into the distance. In the academy courtyard, Leo the fire lizard looks on with a determined and adorable expression. Meanwhile, the red-haired elite student, despite his previous arrogance, cowers in fear behind a neutral-looking Valerie, gripping her shoulders as if seeking protection. Valerie stands her ground, urgently shouting as she tries to explain the gravity of the situation to the gathered crowd. Behind her, the red-haired elite, sporting a small scar on his cheek, looks on with a mixture of intensity and deep frustration. Valerie remains focused, her stoic gaze fixed forward as she processes the fallout of the Secret Realm's collapse. Her resolute expression shows she is no longer the playful assistant, while the red-haired student lingers in the background, silenced by the turn of events. Back in the peaceful courtyard, Bianca stands in her red and white academy uniform, gently cradling Leo in her arms. She looks down at him, speaking softly to her companion, while Leo gazes back with an attentive and adorable expression, listening to every word. A stylized version of Bianca celebrates her first-place achievement, holding a golden trophy high as confetti falls around her. In reality, Bianca looks slightly downward with a thoughtful and modest expression, not letting the victory get to her head. Bianca continues to hold Leo close, her side profile reflecting her calm demeanor. Leo, however, can't help but let out a smug and happy grin, his cheeks rosy with satisfaction over their massive haul of stardust crystal. The atmosphere shifts as the Grand Imperial representative, Valerie, and a blue-haired student all share a look of deep concern over the Academy's future. The silence is broken by Arthur, the red-haired elite, who begins shouting, angrily, unable to accept the current state of affairs. A nearby wavy-haired student stands stunned and wide-eyed by the heated exchange. Unbothered by the noise, Bianca turns her back on the crowd and begins to walk away, while Leo looks back over her shoulder with a final, lingering glance. Later, in the quiet of their dormitory, Bianca sits on the edge of her bed, holding the glowing blue ice crystal dragon marrow fruit. Leo sits patiently on her lap, his eyes fixed on the mystical reward with intense curiosity. Bianca looks down at the fruit with a solemn expression, aware of the risks involved in consuming such high-level resources. Her ruby-red eyes reflect deep concentration as Leo prepares himself to eat the fruit and take the next step in his growth. As Leo devours the fruit, a golden system screen appears, indicating that he has gained an incredible 400,000 evolution points. A bright golden light suddenly envelops the small lizard, signaling the start of a new evolution process. Leo looks overjoyed and more energetic than ever following the surge of power. Bianca then presents him with an ancient magical book featuring a dragon on its cover, from which glowing runes and mystical symbols begin to float as she studies its secret. Leo looks on with a surprised expression as he learns the potential of the new skill. A system screen confirms his progress, indicating that, as he levels up, the damage output of his skills will effectively double. A vision of Leo's future potential flashes before them, revealing a massive, intimidating lightning dragon with purple and black scales. This colossal beast, adorned with glowing purple gems and crackling with electricity, represents the true power hidden within the small lizard. The evolved dragon roars into a stormy sky, asserting its dominance over the elements. Back in the present, the small orange Leo looks very pleased with himself, having sensed the immense potential of the evolution path he is on. Bianca looks down with narrowed eyes, perhaps realizing the heavy burden of the power they are cultivating. Leo simply looks up at her, chirping happily and remaining oblivious to the serious thoughts weighing on his master's mind. A close-up reveals the focused intensity in Leo's eyes before the scene shifts to a more chaotic moment in the dorm. Bianca finds herself shouting in frustration at Leo, who stands innocently on her desk after causing a bit of a mess. Leo looks momentarily determined and slightly annoyed by the scolding, furrowing his brow in defiance. However, his mood quickly shifts to one of guilt and sadness, casting his eyes downward while his tail flame flickers low. Completely exhausted and feeling depressed, Leo lies flat on his stomach across the desk. His weary eyes are half closed, showing just how much the intense training and scolding have drained his energy. The dark dormitory room is suddenly illuminated by arcs of blue electricity as Leo begins to levitate. Bianca watches in total shock, her face lit by the magical discharge as she realizes the Thunder Dragon's skill is taking effect. Leo's small paws are shown as he climbs back onto Bianca's lap, seeking comfort after the surge of power. He curls up into a ball, closing his eyes to finally rest as the energy stabilizes. With large tears in his eyes, Leo looks up at Bianca, appearing heartbroken by the strain of his own abilities. Bianca looks down at him with a tender, affectionate smile, her eyes filled with nothing but kindness for her. Bianca's hands begin to glow with a soft green light as she performs a soothing spell, gently petting Leo's back. She sits by the window, dedicated to caring for her beast and helping him recover from the physical toll of his new. Leo looks blissful and comforted by the healing touch, his eyes closed as the pain fades away. Bianca, however, maintains a more serious and contemplative expression, thinking about the rare resources they will need to sustain this growth. A sharp close-up of Bianca's ruby eyes highlights her newfound determination. She stands in the center of her room, having made a firm decision to take full responsibility for the future of the Academy and the upcoming trials. Leo looks upward with a satisfied smirk, confident in their shared future. Bianca closes her eyes and lets out a quiet sigh, either from fatigue or the relief of finally having a clear path forward. Meanwhile, Valerie walks through the Academy hallway with her white cat, Luna, perched on her shoulder. Despite her usual confidence, Valerie looks worried and is sweating slightly, clearly nervous about something on her mind. Inside the dorm, Bianca is seen holding Leo while they wait. A hand, presumably, Valerie's, reaches for the door handle, signaling an unexpected visitor at their. Bianca opens the door to find Valerie standing there, looking somewhat shy and hesitant. Valerie holds out a small brown drawstring pouch, her usual boldness, replaced by a more reserved. Valerie hands the pouch over to Bianca, offering it as a peace offering. Leo peeks out from Bianca's arms, looking at the pouch with curiosity as he senses the valuable moon dust crystals inside. Leo looks toward Luna, noticing the cat's playful attitude. Luna, the moon, spirit fox, winks at him and sticks her tongue out, showing that there is no lingering animosity between the two beasts. Bianca and Valerie stand face to face in the small room, the air thick with unspoken apologies. Suddenly, Valerie bows her head deeply, her expression filled with genuine regret for her past actions and the trouble she caused. Bianca looks surprised by Valerie's sudden display of humility. Valerie continues to bow, her pink hair falling forward as she speaks, finally unburdening herself of the guilt she has been carrying. From a side view, Valerie remains in her deep bow, showing the sincerity of her apology. The scene shifts to a dramatic close-up of her face as she begins to cry, large tears streaming down her cheeks. Leo looks confused by the crying girl, tilting his head at her emotional outburst. Valerie looks pained, her tears falling freely as she admits her faults and asks for their forgiveness. Seeing the apology is sincere, Leo breaks into a wide, happy grin. Bianca holds the happy lizard while Valerie stands before them, the tension finally breaking as they move past the conflict. The two girls continue to talk in the wide shot of the dormitory room, establishing a new bond. A close-up of Valerie's purple eye, still filled with tears, shows just how much this moment of reconciliation means to her. Valerie looks up, her eyes wide with surprise at how quickly she is forgiven. Bianca smiles warmly and encouragingly at her, proving that she harbors no ill will and is ready to work together. Luna watches curiously as the atmosphere lightens. Valerie suddenly moves forward to give Leo a hug while he is still in Bianca's arms, leaning her head against him in an affectionate gesture. Crying tears of joy, Valerie hugs the fire lizard tightly. Leo, however, looks startled and a bit squished by the sudden and intense physical affection from the senior student. Valerie looks shocked or stunned by something Bianca says, perhaps surprised by the girl's ambitious goals. Bianca remains calm, smiling behind Leo as she reaffirms her commitment to the Academy's success. In a comical shift, Valerie begins shouting and arguing in a gag style, complete with impact symbols around her head. This quickly passes, and her expression turns serious and sharp as the conversation shifts to the dangers ahead. Valerie uses her hands to count out specific points, explaining the daunting odds they face. She looks concerned as she describes the threat posed by other academies, particularly the legendary Etheria. A confident smirk crosses Valerie's face for a moment, but she quickly turns fierce again. She shouts a warning to Bianca about a specific individual they need to watch out for during the upcoming trial. A close-up of Valerie's determined eyes shows she is ready to support them. Leo looks very brave in response, opening his mouth as if letting out a small roar of agreement to her battle plan. Valerie continues her explanation in the dorm room, laying out the details of their new partnership. She looks at Bianca with a curious and inquisitive expression, wondering if they truly have what it takes. After a close-up of the scales on Leo's head, the three of them Valerie, Leo, and Bianca all look at each other. They have formed a new, unlikely alliance, united by a common goal and a shared responsibility. Valerie begins to speak about their primary rival, and the scene shifts to introduce Damien. He is a sinister-looking young man with spiky black and purple hair, surrounded by a dark and malevolent reddish-black aura. Damien is shown standing in front of a terrifying, red-cloaked skeletal reaper holding a massive scythe. Bianca and Valerie look at each other with expressions of dread and anger, realizing the sheer power of the opponents they will face. Valerie smirks as she comes up with a plan to counter the threat. She holds her arms out wide with a cheerful and excited expression, trying to lighten the mood and boost their morale for the training ahead. Leo looks upward with an annoyed and skeptical expression, seemingly unimpressed by Valerie's antics. Beside him, Bianca maintains a deadpan and unimpressed look, though the bond between the three of them is now undeniable. Inside her academy dorm room, Bianca looks on in surprise as Valerie reveals a shocking secret. Looking back at the group, Valerie finally begins to grasp the true significance of the immense power Leo displayed during their recent battle. The girls lean in close to inspect the small lizard, who watches them with an inquisitive gaze. As Valerie whispers softly to him, Leo responds with a happy, content smile, while Bianca stands by in her red and white academy uniform. Valerie's purple eyes narrow with intense focus and determination as she observes the creature. Deep within Leo's large golden brown eye, a tiny reflection of the room mirrors the growing spiritual connection forming between them. Leo's gaze sparkles with a high level of intelligence, far beyond that of a normal beast. As he chirps and laughs happily in Bianca's arms, Valerie's expression softens, and the tension that filled the room finally begins to melt away. Valerie drifts into a deep state of thought, her mind working through the implications of their situation. Nearby, the flaming tip of Leo's tail passes by, a row of textbooks, symbolizing the spark of a new plan being ignited. While Leo looks upward with a bright and innocent expression, Valerie remains somber. She thoughtfully weighs the consequences of the secret realm's collapse and what it means for their future. Valerie maintains a serious and focused demeanor, but Leo quickly breaks the mood. In a comedic display, he closes his eyes and lets out a dramatic, high-pitched cry, as if complaining about the weight of their conversation. With her mind made up, Valerie stands resolutely in the middle of the room and looks toward the door. As sunlight streams across the floor, she prepares to make her departure, signaling a major transition for the group. Valerie holds up her hand in a gentle goodbye, but her expression soon turns fierce. She warns Bianca about the upcoming challenges they will face from the other elite families, who are sure to take notice of them. Leo smiles broadly, looking incredibly proud of his recent achievements. Meanwhile, Valerie explains the gravity of the situation to Bianca, her face showing a mix of worry and urgency regarding their next steps. Leo tilts his head curiously as he watches the two girls. Bianca remains skeptical with her arms crossed, while Valerie stands opposite her, pleading her case and offering a sincere alliance. The discussion continues with Leo sitting on the desk between them, acting as a mediator. In a comical turn, Leo begins shouting with a tough guy expression, behaving as if he is the one truly in charge of the negotiation. Valerie suddenly becomes flustered, a slight blush creeping onto her cheeks. She awkwardly adjusts her pink hair and looks away, realizing she may have been a bit too dramatic in her explanation. Despite her embarrassment, Valerie looks back with bashful hope in her eyes. Sensing the positive shift in the atmosphere, Leo stands on the floor and wags, his flaming tail with newfound energy. Bianca stands by the door, maintaining a calm and collected expression as they prepare to leave. Leo looks directly at the viewer with a big, toothy grin, appearing ready for whatever adventure comes next. Valerie takes on a solemn look as she prepares for the journey ahead. The scene transitions to the exterior of a grand, ornate wooden building, the restricted headquarters of her clan, decorated with gold leaf and heavy doors. Valerie leads the way through a stone courtyard, looking straight ahead with purpose. Following behind, Bianca carries Leo, who looks back with a curious expression, his rainbow-colored collar jingling as they move. They arrive at a courtyard featuring a massive stone lion statue. In the shadows, a man named Damien is introduced, watching the girls with a malicious and arrogant smirk as he plots his. Valerie confronts Damien with a defiant and angry stare, refusing to be intimidated. Damien stands his ground, looking smug and handsome in his gray and red taming suit, a silver star pendant hanging from his neck. Damien points toward the Draconic Blood Treasure Tree, a magnificent sight with glowing golden leaves and swirling energy. He boasts loudly about his family's wealth and the tree's power, his voice filled with condescension. Valerie looks on with wide-eyed shock at the display of power Damien is flaunting. Damien's gaze fixes on Leo, and in the reflection of his eye, It's clear he sees the little lizard as a mere prize to be taken. An overlay of Damien's angry face appears as he loses his patience. He leans back with his arms crossed, a confident and mocking smile plastered on his face, as he stands near the traditional stone guardian. Damien laughs out loud, openly mocking Bianca's status and her familiar. Cradled in Bianca's hands, Leo remains perfectly calm, looking smug as if he already knows how to handle this arrogant. Damien narrows his eyes and touches his chin, clearly scheming a way to get what he wants. Leo, however, looks completely bored by the talking, resting his head on his paw with a sassy and half-asleep expression. Driven into a rage, Damien begins to shout, his face contorting with anger. He brings his hands together to charge a dark, swirling ball of purple energy, preparing to launch an illegal attack within the academy ground. The silence is broken as Valerie lunges forward, her white boot connecting squarely with Damien's chest. Her face is filled with protective fury as she delivers the powerful strike, sending him reeling. Damien is left stunned and sweating, his eyes wide as he realizes he has been completely overpowered. Valerie stays in a combat stance, her pink hair flying as she prepares her next move. Damien scowls with bared teeth, feeling the sting of humiliation. Valerie follows up with another mid-air kick, her foot slamming into his shoulder and sending him sprawling across the stone floor of the court. Damien falls onto his side, gritting his teeth in intense pain. Valerie leans over him with a smug, mocking smile, pointing a finger at the defeated tamer and relishing the moment. Bianca and Leo stand before the stone lion, looking satisfied with the outcome of the brief clash. Below them, Damien's red eyes burn with a newfound hatred and a silent promise of revenge. Valerie lunges at Damien again as he tries to scramble away in fear. Damien looks back toward Bianca and Leo with a gaze full of pure jealousy, realizing he has lost his chance to claim the dragon. Bianca walks past the giant stone lion statue, holding Leo close as they move toward the inner sanctum. In the background, Damien is left hunched over, shouting in frustration as his pride lies shattered. The wide courtyard shows the gap between the two parties, with the stone lion separating them. Damien looks absolutely bewildered and insulted that a direct descendant like Valerie would choose to side against him. Leo looks back one last time with a playful and innocent expression. Damien stares intensely at the lizard, his mind already working on a dark plan to kidnap the creature for himself. Damien eventually stomps away in total shame, trying to salvage what's left of his dignity. In a comedic moment, he is shown in a chibi style with bright red cheeks and stars around his head, emphasizing his total defeat. Leo's flaming tail wags tauntingly near Damien's legs as they pass. Damien's frustration reaches a breaking point, a vein popping on his forehead as he seethes in silence. In a final comedic insult, Leo performs a mid-air dragon kick while Damien watches in shock. The aftermath leaves Damien's face covered in purple bruises and band-aids, looking like he lost a completely one-sided fight. Bianca holds Leo close, feeling a sense of relief that the confrontation is over. Nearby, Valerie begins to laugh heartily, her eyes closed as she enjoys the memory of Damien's humiliating experience. The group finally stands before the massive wooden doors of the Academy's main hall. Behind them, Damien lies face down on the courtyard stones, looking like a discarded rag after his encounter with Valerie. Suddenly, Bianca looks horrified, her hand over her mouth as she spots something shocking ahead. Leo's eyes widen to the size of dinner plates, equally stunned by a new and unexpected development. A golden system screen appears, announcing the discovery of pure dragon blood power within the area. The group enters a beautiful traditional garden, walking through a circular moon gate toward an important meeting. Leo looks surprised as a tantalizing scent hits his nose. He quickly falls into a comedic, hungry state, with a single tear in his eye and drool escaping his mouth as he senses the draconic blood treasure tree nearby. They arrive at a pair of traditional paper screen doors. Stepping inside, they meet the clan elder, a man with long white hair and a majestic beard who wears black and gold armor. The elder speaks in a deep, booming voice that fills the hall. Valerie leans in, close, whispering something urgent and secret into his ear, while the old man listens with a stern expression. The elder's sharp, wise eyes widen as the details of Valerie's story unfold. By the time she finishes, he is sweating slightly with his eyes closed, his composure deeply shaken by what he has just heard. The elder looks at Valerie with a mixture of suspicion and growing intrigue. He turns his narrowed gaze toward Bianca and Leo, finally realizing the true, world-shaking potential that the little lizard possesses. The clan elder stands deep in calculation, his brow furrowed as he processes the incredible report from Valerie. Clad in his ornate black and gold dragon-themed armor, he listens intently while the high-rise buildings of the city loom through the windows of the traditional hall behind them. His expression shifts to one of skepticism as Valerie recounts the details of the battle. Standing amidst the wooden pillars of the academy grounds, Valerie looks up at him with wide, worried purple eyes, sensing her grandfather's doubt regarding the lack of backlash from such power. Valerie gestures frantically, her voice filled with urgency as she tries to convince the elder of Leo's extraordinary nature. She pleads with him to understand that the small fire lizard is far more than he appears, having survived a feat that should have been impossible. The clan elder remains a mask of stoic gravity, listening to the explanation without a word. He bows his head in deep thought, the light from the large windows casting long shadows that highlight the intricate gold lion head pauldrons on his shoulders. Standing by the open sliding doors, the elder looks out over the courtyard, his posture rigid and regal. Suddenly, his eyes widen in absolute shock and disbelief as he witnesses the physical impossibility of the energy radiating from the courtyard. Valerie braces herself, closing her eyes as if expecting a harsh rebuke for her claims. Beside her, the elder's jaw sets firmly, his gaze fixed intensely on the target of his shock, unable to look away from the scene unfolding before them. The elder's brow twitches in surprise as he continues to observe the massive energy output. His pupils dilate into a piercing, wide-eyed stare, his mind racing to process the sheer volume of power the small creature is emitting. A heavy silence falls over the hall as Valerie and the elder stand several feet apart. The elder peers over his shoulder, his gaze shifting from pure shock to a profound, terrifying realization about the beast's true limit. The elder suddenly shouts, his expression fierce as he reveals that even he cannot see through Bianca's background. Valerie looks on with a crestfallen, sad expression, realizing just how high the stakes have become for the Vance family's direct line. The clan elder looks down with a somber, reflective expression, the weight of the revelation settling on him. He remains silent for a long moment, his white mustache twitching as he carefully chooses his next words regarding the treasure. Valerie watches him with a hopeful yet uncertain gaze, the bright sky of the courtyard framing her. The elder stands perfectly centered between the traditional windows, appearing like an immovable statue as he reaches a final decision. The elder touches his chin, lost in deep thought about the value of their family's greatest resource. When he reveals the true worth of the tree, Valerie is struck with an exaggerated expression of shock, surrounded by impact lines of disbelief. Valerie shouts in surprise at her grandfather's sudden generosity before her mood shifts to pure joy. She cheers with a bright smile and clenched fists, standing next to Leo, who watches her with a big, curious eye. Leo looks up at the treasure tree with literal stars in his eyes, a bit of drool escaping his mouth in anticipation. A system screen appears with a draconic frame, announcing that the devouring of the draconic blood treasure tree has officially begun. With his mouth wide open, revealing small teeth and a pink tongue, Leo prepares to take the first bite. He latches onto the glowing bark of the tree, his tiny claws gripping the wood as he begins to absorb its ancient power. As Leo exerts himself, golden, liquid-like energy begins to flow directly from the tree into his mouth. The prehistoric, divine light illuminates his face and the surrounding garden as the absorption intensifies. The clan elder watches in total bewilderment, sweat beading on his forehead as his mouth hangs agape. He cannot fathom how a Tier 1 beast is successfully consuming a Tier 8 treasure that should have instantly overwhelmed. The elder stands in the center of the hall, looking visibly shaken by the spectacle. He eventually looks down with defeated acceptance, realizing the beast he once considered a discard is actually a creature of legendary proportion. The scene shifts back to Damien in the courtyard, who wipes his mouth with his sleeve while looking disheveled and humiliated. He walks away with a bitter scowl, his pride utterly crushed by Valerie's intervention and his own weakness. Leo looks happy and satisfied near the base of the tree, his tail wagging contentedly. Damien looks over his shoulder one last time, his face contorted, with a bloodshot rage as he vows to get even for the humiliation he endured. Damien points an accusatory finger at Valerie, shouting with a face full of sweat and anger. His mouth hangs open as he hurls threats and insults, unable to accept his loss of standing within the clan. Screaming in a fit of a temper tantrum, Damien shuts his eyes tight as the reality of his situation sinks in. He begins to cry with rage, tears streaming down his face as he realizes he has lost everything he worked for. In a final moment of agony, Damien shakes his clenched fist at the sky before the camera pulls back for a comedic fail. He trips backward, falling into a flower bed with his legs kicking helplessly in the air. Valerie stands in the garden, looking down at the fallen Damien with cold indifference. She places her hands on her hips, delivering a final, biting remark that leaves the disgraced tamer with no room for a comeback. Covered in dirt and mud from the garden, Damien looks pathetic with his messy hair and grime-streaked face. He no longer resembles an elite student appearing, instead like a common bully who has been thoroughly humbled. Damien points his finger upward, threatening to tell his father or the headmaster about the day's events. He stands up, still covered in filth, and continues to shout at Valerie until his face turns red from the exertion. The muddy Damien looks absolutely deranged with fury, his teeth bared as he realizes no one is coming to his rescue. He is trapped in his own cycle of rage, unable to process the gap in power between him and his rival. The clan elder appears at the doorway, his disapproving glare immediately cooling the atmosphere. He steps out into the sunlight, his massive armored presence silencing the argument in the courtyard instantly. Damien's expression shifts to pure terror as he locks eyes with the elder. He stands stiffly under the shade of a tree, looking small and insignificant compared to the high-ranking leader of his own clan. The elder maintains a stern face while looking at Damien, who gazes back with a mix of fear and desperate hope. Damien waits for a rescue that never comes, realizing the elder has completely sided against him. The elder watches with a neutral expression as the courtyard begins to change. Leo is suddenly surrounded by swirling vortexes of golden spiritual energy as the evolution process reaches its absolute peak. A system screen flashes a staggering announcement of plus 2 million evolution points. The camera zooms in on the terrifying head of the evolved dragon, featuring purple and crimson scales and glowing orange eyes under a gem-encrusted crown. The evolved dragon's fierce eyes burn with power as a massive purple-clawed foot steps onto the pavement. The impact cracks the stones and releases wreaths of red spiritual fire that dance around the beast's legs. Leo stands in his majestic new form as a bipedal lightning dragon, covered in purple scales with glowing red veins. His massive bat-like wings crackle with electricity, making him look like a true god of the abyss. Standing proudly in the garden, the dragon prepares to depart. His tail, now tipped with a red blade-like structure, lifts off the ground as he begins to ascend, his presence dominating the entire estate. A massive wing beat clears the clouds as the dragon takes flight, soaring over the traditional rooftops of the mansion. His body trails sparks of purple, lightning, leaving the onlookers below in awe of his power. The evolved dragon ascends higher into the blue sky, the golden sunlight, reflecting off his scales and the jewels of his armor. He looks like a legendary spirit returning to the heavens, transcending his former lizard form. Performing a barrel roll through the clouds, the dragon displays incredible speed and power. He is a far cry from the small creature he was only moments ago, now a force of nature that commands the sky. As the dragon becomes a small silhouette in the distance, Bianca looks up with a beautiful and relieved smile. She watches her partner reach his true potential, her heart filled with pride for the bond they share. Damien looks upward, his face pale with horror, as he realizes the lizard he mocked has become a high-tier dragon. He is shown in a chibi gag shot, crying in a dark void of despair as his spirit finally breaks. Damien screams one last time in frustration, but the clan elder simply waves a hand dismissively. Following the elder's signal, the guards move in to take the disgraced student away from the premises. As Damien is comically blasted into the distance, the elder turns back to Bianca. He hands her a thick black leather-bound book, sealed with a golden dragon, containing ancient taming techniques and secret formations. Bianca opens the book with eyes wide with curiosity, reading the first page of the manual. A bright flash of golden light erupts in the garden as Leo returns, to her side, having reverted back to his small, familiar form. Bianca pulls the small orange Leo close to her chest in a heartwarming hug. She smiles and gently pets his head, while Leo closes his eyes in contentment, their bond having grown stronger through the ordeal. Bowing respectfully to the clan elder, Bianca accepts his newfound respect with grace. Leo looks toward the camera with a cheeky, satisfied grin, his little claws tucked under his chin as he basks in their hard-won victory.